Week 9 in the National Football League, and what a week it was. Some great finishes in games between teams involving big-time records and heavy hearts, and a surprise finish for the Bears and Packers. Coming up on NFL Primetime, will Kirk get the rolling Rams back on track, or will the Lions roar in the Motor City? Revenge Bowl 1. Can the new Browns beat the old Browns? The Red Hot Skins attempt to veto the Bills in Washington, but the fabulous Flutie stands in their way. Will Favre be able to bear the pain in an NFC Norris matchup with Chicago? Can the Bronx buck past the Bolts? KC looks to cream the Colts, but Manning has plans of his own. And Cordell and company try to steal a win over the Niners. NFL Primetime. Coming up next. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to Week 9 of NFL Primetime. The wins of November. Remember, we're into month 3 of the NFL season, and we're still trying to figure it out. Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson, and a couple games.
I don't know any more than I knew when we started nine weeks ago.
Dr. Watson,
That's right.
And I tell you what, in Cleveland, they needed this game. 4 years ago, the Browns left, became the Ravens, and now, 4 years later, no sign of the owner, Art Modell, but in Cleveland, the witness for this game for 4 years. If there was one game the Browns wanted to do was to burn the Ravens. This is almost, like, what, early Thanksgiving? It's Capon. Beer $4.50, ticket $50, no more Modell. That's priceless. But I'll tell you what, there was very few priceless moments for the Cleveland Browns. One was after a field goal, they recover an onside kick by Raymond Jackson, makes the play as Phil Dawson kicked it. But Tim Couch, you know what? Baltimore has a very good defense, and unfortunately for Tim Couch and company, they were reminded of it as Dwayne Starks makes the pick in the end zone.
Yeah, you watch Tim Couch here, still a young quarterback, finding himself, the inexperience. He stares down the receiver, Cheverini, and Dwayne Starks, a nice play on the football, turns, makes a play on the ball with his hands, gets it at its highest point. Great play by the DB.
So Couch bench following the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Ty Detmer is in, and look at Rod Woodson. He's made a career of doing this. He could go all the way. His 8th interception return for a touchdown, tying him with Dion for second place. Ken Houston, the NFL mark, with 9. Well, on this day, Baltimore, their coach Brian Billick says, I know nobody wants us to win. I tell you what, the fans went home with their tails between their legs as the Ravens now won both games against the Browns. They'll have to wait another year to try and get, quote, revenge. Did the Browns get carried away, perhaps, Tommy, after the merriment of their win last week on the Hail Mary?
A lot of pressure on Chris Palmer and his staff, and now they can get back to, I think, what they were doing the first 8 weeks of the season, improving every week.
When we return, big game between the Chiefs and Colts, and Edgerrin James, boy, what a season he's already had. Oz Hakeem, could the Rams and Lions take it to the wire?
NFL Prime Time is brought to you by Fidelity Investments. We help you invest responsibly. Visit us at fidelity.com.
Carolina Panthers at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have only one road win in their last 20 games. Andy Reid's club's been close, but they blew that game last week in overtime to the Giants, and this looked like a hangover to us. Steve Berline to Muhsin Muhammad, 12-yard touchdown in second quarter, 17-0 Carolina. Still the second quarter, Doug Peterson was 3 for 9 for 28. Replaced by Donovan McNabb. First play from scrimmage. Hello, says Sean Gilbert. It's a fumble. And Kevin Green, the veteran, falls on a 23-0 Carolina at the half. Third quarter, McNabb. No, it's picked off in the end zone by Doug Evans, the one-time Packer. For McNabb, 8 of 20 for 68 yards. Meanwhile, Berline to Patrick Jeffers, 22 yards. Berline throwing for 281 yards on 21 of 34. And the Panthers cruise over the Eagles, 33-7, up their mark to 3-5. And it's going to take a little while, but they look more organized under George Seifert, things building up in Carolina.
And let's remember that George Seifert, as a coach with the 49ers, beat the St. Louis Rams 13 straight times, so he's got that going into next week's game against the Rams.
Carolina plays the Rams next week, and now Andy Reid's got to decide, do you just go with McNabb for the rest of the year? That decision's coming. Jacksonville, Atlanta. And Arizona and the Jets, two playoff teams last year. One of them looking for a rare win.
If you have a phone.
Pair of 6-1 teams following primetime. Eddie George and the Tennessee Titans headed to Miami to play the Dolphins. Two teams with the best record in the NFL facing off here on ESPN. Last year, both the Cardinals and the Jets made the playoffs. This year, wins very tough to figure out. Off the bye, Rick Meyer getting the starts for the Jets. So Meyer at home. Hello to Simeon Rice. So, Tom, this isn't going to work. What should the Jets do?
Well, Bill Parcells running the ball with Curtis Martin. Here you're going to see him run to the left for 8 yards and then watch him come back here off tackle again, running the ball inside. This is a 17-yard gain. Nice hole opened up by Jumbo Elliott.
Curtis Martin ran for 131 yards, but with the Cards up 7-6. Rob Fredrickson, one of his 17 tackles, stuffs Martin for a 4-yard loss on second down. At 12-7, the defense holds. One-time Meadowlands inhabited with the Giants. Dave Brown, who was quarterback of the Cardinals, hold him off the scoreboard. The Jets win by the count of 12-7. Not exciting, Tom, but?
Well, 46 carries for 184 yards, 38 carries by Martin. You run the ball 40 times, you don't turn it over, you win most of those games.
So each the Jets and Arizona mark as at 2-6. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at 6-1, playing last year's NFC champion Atlanta Falcons. Game in Atlanta, but Mark Brunell says we're not going to let the home fans get in it because Jimmy Smith, 44 yards, 7-0 Jaguars. Now, start of the second half at 17-7. Here come the Falcons with Tim Dwight, second half kickoff. Look at him go. Make the move, outrace and blow past the kicker who tackled the wrong guy, and he could go all the way. What a great effort. It's a touchdown, except if things go wrong, this is the type of season they've had. Illegal block in the backfield. Dwight and the Falcon need oxygen. Meanwhile, flea flicker, except for one thing, Tom.
Well, too much pressure on the quarterback. Bryce Pop trying to be blocked by the tight end, O.J. Santiago. He can't block him. Then you look here, the DB's coming. Dom Capers loves to do this. It's Carnell Lake from the top of the screen. Aaron Beasley from the bottom of the screen. Lake gets the sack.
It's still a game at 20-7 until Mark Brunell, the Keenan McCardell, 3 yards. Brunell, 3 touchdown passes in the game, the best we've seen from him maybe all year. And the Jaguars continue to bring the defense. Kevin Hardy up the middle, and he sacks Chris Chandler. And then it's Tony Graziani comes in, and Grant Boyer, well, he makes a really nice Graziani sauce right here. 9 sacks. Now, we understand the Jaguars haven't been around as long as, say, the Packers or the Bears, but 9 sacks, a Jacksonville record, and they win it by the count of 30-7. Fred Taylor, but you know, Brunell can look real good when Fred Taylor, Tom, runs for 124 yards. But the big story here, they go into the game. I know they're playing a soft division. They go into the game with the #1 ranked defense. Has Dom Capers made his mark with Jacksonville or what?
When Tom Coughlin brought Dom Capers in, he brought him in to pressure the quarterback. They had 9 sacks today. As Chris said, that's a team record. But last year, they had 30 sacks total. They had 35 on the year. And the thing you know about the zone blitz scheme, and I played in one, is that you can't pick it all up in the first quarter of the football season. They're just beginning to understand what they're capable of. And so as we see the second half of the season, I think they might even get more than the 35 that they got the first half of the season.
Well, and they've continued to pile up. By the way, they're 7-1. The wins continue to pile up for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The wins have piled up for Kansas City and Indianapolis this year. They went head-to-head. A thrilling game at the RCA Dome, and Buffalo's offense was having trouble, but Doug Flutie says, I'll take care of it. Third straight road game into the nation's capital with the Redskins of Norv Turner averaging 35 points a game, and in the second and third quarters, they're almost automatic. Buffalo trailed early 7-0. Now it's 7-3, but Antoine Smith the draw. 3rd and 3, it's Doug Flutie making something happen. There's John Fina with a block out front. 12 yards and a first down. 2 plays later, Jonathan Linton making his presence felt in the backfield, Tom. 11 yards for him, and when you can run like that, as they did against Washington, Flutie, 8-yard touchdown to one of the draft picks this year, Bobby Collins from
North Alabama.
Very good. The Lions. And the Bills take a 10-7 lead. You know what? Wade's sweater, it's going to work today. I just have that feeling. 10-10. Next series, Flutie, scramble. Dana Stubblefield, get out. Big Daddy, get out. Well, that's Stubblefield there, but you get the picture.
It's the 2 of them.
In the middle and the outside, they just could not stop the run. Antoine Smith said it was a touchdown. Meanwhile, Flutie to pass. No, he's not. He's going to scramble for 14 yards. Kennard Lang can't catch him down to the Redskins' 10. Which sets up Antoine Smith getting into the act. Remember that second and third quarter stat we showed you? 28-3 Buffalo over that span in this game. And Tommy, the Bills just manhandled Norv and Mike Nolan's defense.
Well, this is what's been happening to the Washington Redskins right up the middle of the football field. Right there is Jonathan Linton, 13 yards, and it looks like it takes the entire Redskin defense to bring him down.
And then when things go this way, I mean, even Brad Johnson had to shrug at the end of this. Watch this play closely. Trying to make something happen down by 17 minutes. It's the end of the game. Off the back of Michael Westbrook to Kurt Schultz. He knows nothing. He has something. It's an interception, and the Bills go on to beat the Redskins 34-17. And again, they win the last 2 of this 3-game road trip to up their mark to 6-3. And Tom, this is a ball club that ran for 204 yards. Have trouble with your offense? Play Washington.
Well, 49 carries, 204 yards. It translates into 41-19 in terms of time of possession for the Bills.
Washington must have thought they were Dallas because they beat everybody except Dallas this year, but now the Skins fall to 5-3 and the Bills are 6-3. Meanwhile, Colts, Chiefs, 2 of the fine teams, 5-2 going in. Gunther Cunningham very early on. Gambles on 4th down. Donnell Bennett. Oh, it was a good gamble, all right. Donnell Bennett. Touchdown, and the Chiefs lead it 10-6. 23-yard run. Colts come back. Peyton Manning to Edgerrin James. Now watch this play. Marcus Patton can't wrap him up. Neither can Jerome Woods. Touchdown 13-10. 21 straight games. Peyton Manning's thrown at least a touchdown pass. The big fella, Chester McLaughlin. One of the rare foolish plays by Manning. And look at him. Whoop. And he's rolling until a little sleight of hand. Whoop. He flips it back to Reggie Tongue, who was Forkett Tongue. Tom, it was almost as if Chester McLaughlin was a Harlem Globetrotter.
We've seen this act.
Behind the back, over the shoulder. Middle arc McLaughlin. Third quarter, that was fun. Elvis Gerback rolls right. And, you know, Gunther doesn't like the passing game, but at least he can make a catch. I like it when you throw it to me. Same drive, ball in the 18. Elvis Gerback is not all shook up. To Kevin Lockett. And give Lockett the nod. It's a touchdown, 17-13, and you know he's playing in the Hoosier State. What was his fellow's name? Jimmy Chitwood. We don't spike it. We take a free throw over the goalpost. 17-16 fourth quarter. Larry Parker trying to make something happen for the Chiefs. He does, except for one thing. Oh, he forgot the ball. Hit the hip pad, and the Colts recover. So after the break, Edgerrin James look at the plays he makes, and again, Jerome Woods is not going to be able to wrap him up right there. Powerful and great balance, 28 yards. Second and goal later in the drive. Manning rolls right, looking very Archie-like. Touchdown for the youngster. 22-17. They don't make the 2-point conversion. Now 25-17, 22 seconds left. Gerback nailed by Jason Belzer. Warren Moon would come in to complete a short pass, try a Hail Mary. They're not playing the Saints. It wasn't complete. And the Indianapolis Colts at 6-2 after their 25-17 win. And now their best start since the Baltimore Colts were 9-1 with Burt Jones in 1977. Tommy, Edgerrin James, I mean, he does it. Second straight game, not only running, receiving.
Well, the great thing about Coach Moore is getting him more and more involved with the receiving area of the offense every single week. Had 200 yards of total offense this week, actually 199. But in terms of the way they commit to the running game and they keep forcing him down your throat the second half of football game, that is the key. Peyton Manning throwing for about 66%, 21-33. You get your 100 yards receiving from Marvin Harrison. You know, we keep talking about big three. This is the new big three of the National Football League.
One other thing on the game first is that the Colts, knowing that Kansas City was going to run, and Kansas City ran okay, but 29 carries for 108, so that was a big improvement on that side of the ball for the Indianapolis Colts, although a very, very subdued locker room, according to our Susie Colbert, and we certainly can understand. Nicole Muhammad, the wife of Colts player Steve Muhammad, died during the day of complications during childbirth. The couple has had 3 other children as well, so our condolences with Steve Muhammad, their immediate family, and the entire Colts family, and we understand why the whole team was happy that they won, but they kept things very much in perspective. When we return, heavy hearts also involving the Chicago Bears in Green Bay. Primetime will continue. It is the oldest rivalry in the National Football League, and it's very fitting that the week that the greatest Chicago Bear of them all, Walter Payton, who passed away on Monday and had the private service on Friday and a public service on Saturday, which all the Bears went to, perhaps it is fitting, and Walter would have wanted it this way, that the Bears should play a football game that weekend, that it would be against the Green Bay Packers for the 158th time. And a moment of silence, certainly in all the NFL parks, but especially this one, and every football player, and the McCaskies, Virginia and Ed, and Commissioner Tagliabue, Dick Duran, everybody involved, knowing that the respect for Walter Payton is just so genuine. And then the Bears were, well, for the Bears, they averaged 89 yards a game rushing and only 86 on the drive. Ron Jaworski, our Ron Jaworski, congratulating Brett Favre for his 117th straight start at quarterback, breaking Jaws' old mark at 116. But his thumb is banged up, and so therefore they change the game plan.
Yeah, they've been throwing the ball downfield to the outside today. Brett Favre shortening up those throws, and here you see him throw a strike down in the end zone. First one's Antonio Freeman, the second one Tyrone Davis for the touchdown.
10-7 the Packers. Time winding down, first half, still 10-7. Jim Miller to Ryan Wetnight, and boom, Darren Sharper says good night to Wetnight, and was laid out a little bit.
Well, you saw the time on the clock, less than 20 seconds. He's trying to make something happen. Inexperienced throwing the coverage. Wetnight got up.
Bears in Lambeau lead it 14-10. Now 14-13, 3 minutes to go. What could happen? Brett Favre is at home. He's led 3 late drives for wins this year. At Dorsey Levens for a first down. Favre with under 2 minutes to go to Antonio Freeman. It would set up a long field goal by Ryan Longwell, but they want to make it a short field goal. Favre to Freeman for 6 yards. Bonio missed in the fourth quarter. Was he thinking about it? Both coaches, Ray Rhodes, Dick Duran, look on. It's a chip shot, but it's blocked. It's blocked. The snap was fumbled a little bit. Brian Robinson blocked it. Look at the play again. 98 gets the big paw up there and swats it away. Favre sees a sure victory with the field goal right in the middle, go away. And the Chicago Bears, wearing that patch you see right there, number 34 for Walter Payton. This isn't to say this definitely happened, but a week ago, they pretty much knew what Walter's situation was. They looked lost very early on against the Washington Redskins. They were out of that game early. The whole team got together unresolved and wanted a place. They hadn't beaten the Packers in 10 straight games. Robinson, who was the hero, knows they may have had some help today.
I think Walter Payton actually picked me up a little bit and boosted me up in the air because, you know, I can't jump that high. You know, I don't know what happened. Maybe, you know, I had a running start and he boosted me up and I got my hand up there, but, you know, it's great. It's great.
So the Green Bay Packers, who have lost twice dating back to September of '95, in 4 years at Lambeau Field, have now lost twice in the span of a week to Seattle and to the Chicago Bears. Rams-Lions, Tommy, and this game was fun right from the get-go. What? To combat the K-ball, by the time we got to the third quarter, Batch's thumb at
40-yard gain.
3 plays later, it's 3rd and 15 with the Lions in business. Farrat to Crowell, but it's pass interference on McLeon.
Outside the 5-yard area.
So now on the Batch and Farrat with the hug. Remember, Farrat led him to a big win at home in relief of Batch against Minnesota. So the Lions getting outstanding backup quarterbacking on the 4th and long. They win it by the count of 31-27. And so the Detroit Lions, with a record of 6-2, because they've now beaten the Rams, they have the best record in the NFC.
Well, and certainly games don't come down often to one play, and we don't talk about one single play often, but when you have a 4th down and 26 and the game on the line, you have to understand what the offense needs. They're not going to be breaking routes off short because they're not sure the exact distance that they need to get the first down, so they're going to be running go routes. You saw Dexter McLeon not get turned in time, and then I thought another key was the fact that the Rams did not run the ball as well as they have. The 11 carries for 15 yards for Marshall Faulk did not do a good job of taking the pressure off of Kurt Warner, so you saw the Lions play some better defense today.
Neither team ran the ball well at all. I mean, 3 more touchdown passes for Warner. He now has 24 halfway through the season, but all of a sudden the St. Louis Rams, 2 very exciting and close games, but they've lost 2 in a row after winning 6 in a row. As we go inside the numbers, Lions defense is not only what they've done offensively. You see the comparison to last year. Takeaways almost even after 8 games to what they had all last year. And the sacks are, what, about 2/3 of the way there. So better defense. Good things happen when you move the ball a little offensively, get a lead here and there. And the Detroit Lions have now beaten Minnesota, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and St. Louis in the Lions' Den. Do I hear dangerous home field?
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official card of the NFL. Log on to ESPN.com for more Inside the Numbers.
When we return, late game. The Broncos won a Super Bowl in San Diego 2 years ago. Could they recreate the magic? And the Bengals were on the road. What could have happened? 6-1 Miami, home against 6-1 Tennessee after NFL primetime. Damon Heward has won both of his starts in relief of Dan Marino. He goes again tonight. AFC West at the Murph. The Chargers hosting the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. Jim Harbaugh against Chris Miller. What could happen? You mean Harbaugh's pass is picked off at the line of scrimmage? Bill Romanowski, but it's a fumble, but he recovers it for a touchdown. 10-0 Denver.
Romo does a great job here of reading the quarterback's eyes. You can see him staring Harbaugh down. He just looks exactly where he wants to throw balls, a little bit behind the receiver. Romo, a good job of using his hands, tuck the ball away, gets to the goal line, he recovers it for his own touchdown.
But for the home fans in San Diego, Tom, a rare sight indeed. Harbaugh, third quarter to Freddie Jones, touchdown. The first San Diego touchdown in 13 quarters. They trail at 20-10. Now it's 23-10. Now, wait a minute. They're going to get the hang of this now. Harbaugh avoids the rush, twirls, backpedals, fires. Michael Ricks wide open. He could go all the way. It's a touchdown. But it's time to look at the replay. They huddle. And they say that he was pushed out of bounds. He can't be the first one to touch the ball. No touch. You know,
when it's going bad, it's going bad.
Can't score. Give him a break. Meanwhile, Harbaugh sacked by Tanavasa. Watch the replay, Tommy. David Bowen's called for spearing Harbaugh. Bowen's, and he should be, by the way.
Right there.
And he's ejected. Chargers have it 1st and 10. Harbaugh. I like when the announcers actually score points. He's going to throw it to Charlie Jones. 44 yards, 23-17. Here come the lightning bolts. But Olandis Gary, who had 108 yards and 2 touchdowns, seals it right there. First running back to get 100 yards against the Chargers since TD did it 2 years ago. So Denver, I don't know if it's going to be enough to salvage the season, Tom, but they certainly have played well lately.
And when you talk about that 108 yards that Gary got, it's on 30 carries. So when we've seen him carry the ball 30-plus times, we see this ball club win.
And 4 field goals for Elam, 3 of them over 40 yards, 1 of them 55 yards. The Bengals and the Seahawks. The Bengals have won once. They beat the Browns by 1. But would Seattle be kind of flexing their muscle a little bit too much after Monday night's big win at Lambeau Field? Jeff Blake starting for Cincinnati. Anthony Simmons hits the arm. Cortez Kennedy. Well, the big fella has more interceptions than a lot of defensive backs this year. On that position, Ricky Running Waters. Ran great Monday night. Rushing touchdown for Seattle. Their first this year. Well, this team is coming, Tom. You see him building confidence every week. 14-3 Seattle. Jeff Blake. This is what he does. To your neighbor, Carl Pickens.
He puts that ball up in the air and gives Carl a chance to run under it.
14-10. Pickens throws a strike. John Kitna didn't have much offense, but he was careful with the ball. But now they'll go a little bit deeper. Corey Hall with a one-handed interception. Kitna's a tough customer. He gets sacked by Steve Foley.
Well, and gets his helmet ripped off right there, and then watch the next play, boom.
The very next play, Kitna says caboodle. It's just 14-10. That's a dart. That's a dart to Mike Pritchard. 21-10. Still second quarter. Kitna from the 10 to Derek Mays. 28-10 at the half. Very scary moment in the third quarter. Ricky Waters running up the middle, number 98, Knute Curtis. Starts kicking his legs, laying on the ground after a helmet-to-helmet collision. He makes the tackle, but Andre Purvis, 97, comes in late. The hip hits Curtis on the top of the head. Obviously, everybody quiet. Bruce Coslett, Mike Holmgren, both teams looking on. But later on, it was revealed that Curtis, and this is good news, full motor and sensory skills. He was taken to a Seattle hospital, as we hoped that he would be, for more evaluations. And in the end of it, Seattle, they added a field goal late, so they win at 37-20. His kid had 3 touchdown passes, though he's picked off twice. So that gives them 4 on the year. The Seahawks are now 6-2, gunning for their first championship of the division in 11 years. When we return, Tampa Bay, could they get something going against the Saints? Cordell Stewart, could they get something going in the rain in San Francisco? The Saints last year was 9-3 in New Orleans. Could anybody reach double figures, please? 3-0 Saints first quarter. Trent Dilfer out last week, but Zaire hurt, so he's back. And I personally believe he's still the answer for them, given what they have right now. Sean King maybe one day, but Dilfer to Jack West Green. First Bucks touchdown last 9 quarters. 7-3 Tampa Bay. Second quarter, Warwick Dunn runs right into Wayne Martin. It's a fumble. Sammy Knight recovers it. And then look what happens. Knight rolling laterals to Fred Weary. No longer very tired when you can do this. 74-yard touchdown. Now, Tony Dungy, whose team was stung last week when they were challenged by Detroit, challenges the play.
This is actually the first challenge that Coach Dungy has won this season. You can see there clearly Warwick Dunn down before that ball popped out.
So the Bucks keep the ball, leads to a field goal, 10-3. And then look at John Lynch.
Well, what a great play. This is cover 2. The safety playing half the field. Lynch comes over just as he should and delivers the ball on time. And then look at Ricky Williams. A difficult day. Ricky running for over 170 yards last week, but a difficult time this week. And then another great play by John Lynch in the middle of the defense.
He's one of the best defensive players that a lot of people aren't aware of nationwide. Billy Joe Tolliver to Andre Battle of Hastings. And he gets all the way down to the 1-yard line. Saints eventually pop it in 2 plays later to make it 24-16 with under a minute to go. So here comes the onside kick. I mean, and the Saints are due a break, aren't they? But they just don't get it. The Tampa Bay recovers it. Mike Ditka's Saints won on opening day, but now they're 1-7, and the Bucks have climbed back to 4-4. The big news is that Tampa Bay scored 31 points. Dilfer 15 of 20, 3 touchdowns for 227. Mike Goodhands with Allstott ran for 117. That's a pretty good defensive team, although they're losing mustard. Hope for Tampa Bay. Steelers at the 49ers. 4-3 Pittsburgh, 3-4 San Francisco, both off a bye. Cordell Stewart. And the Steelers looking to get some movement in the passing game. He was very sharp in the first half, Tom. Here he hit Slash Jr., Hines Ward, for 13 yards. Stewart. A lot of time. That looks like the Stewart of a couple years ago to Courtney Hawkins, and then he's going to hit Troy Edwards.
These are all good throws thrown on time. This is before the heavy rain started. You can see Cordell really feeling comfortable in the pocket.
And the bus, Jerome Bettis goes in at 7-0 Pittsburgh, and the key is he's also spreading it to all his receivers. And then John Whitman and Brendan Stye on the touchdown.
Well, look at the hole that's created for the bus. If you give him that much room, I think you can depend on him getting a yard.
Yes. Next Steeler drive. Stewart to Edwards. And look at this. Boom. He bounces off Zach Bronson. Somehow keeps his feet and takes it all the way down to 39-yard gain, which sets up. And they've been looking for this for a while, Tom. Look at Cordell. And this is the touch. That's a pretty pass to Hines Ward. 17-6 Pittsburgh at the half. And you know what? They got the lead. And then the rain. It was like an Ernest Hemingway game here. Old Man in the Sea. Jeff Garcia. Terrell Owens drops the ball. The Niners always had to go 80 yards. Pittsburgh played a great field position game, Tommy. And then on the scramble, LeBron Kirkland hits Garcia. The helmet flies off, but he's replaced by Steve Stenstrom, even though he's okay. Later on, Jerry Rice drops the ball. I know it's raining. I went out there. I thought I straightened this up. I met with all the players, all the coaches. There's the real Garcia right there. And the Pittsburgh Steelers go on to win it 27-6. They have their mark to 5-3, and the 49ers at 3-5. Now got to wonder if it's ever going to improve. They got 11 more penalties for 95 yards, and that was very impressive by Cordell Stewart and very smart playing. Nobody made an error for Pittsburgh punting game or anything.
Well, the 139 yards for Cordell Stewart, not very as impressive as the way that he threw the football. And certainly I've been in a few games like this where you get a couple of scores up early, then the rains come. You know it's going to be hard to handle the football. You know, 49ers unfortunate conditions for them to play catch-up in.
Well, and in Pittsburgh, you know they bring their defense, Tom.
Yes.
If they can get some consistency on offense, they can be a factor in what's a very tough, at the top, AFC Central. When we return, game balls. Some of the candidates we've seen before, some of them we haven't. We shall be back on NFL Primetime.
That way they'll forget about all the dumb stuff you've done.
Hey, should I tell him about the tattoo?
Depends where it is. Use 1-800-COLLECT. Save a buck or two.
Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
You know what? I just like the play, the class, the statement, and the win by the Chicago Bears. All thinking about number 34. Brian Robinson gets my game ball for the Bears, Tom.
Mine goes to Jermaine Crowell, the 8 catches, 100. Set up the winning score.
Monday Night Countdown, Mark Malone with Tommy and Sterling and the gang gets you set for Monday Night Football. Of course, coming up at 9 Eastern, that's ABC, that's the Dallas-Minnesota game. So Buffalo and Pittsburgh get back in it. Indy's for real. Here comes Seattle. And for the fourth week, a team with a bye, the Giants, moves into first place.
Steve Young, but first a backup.
Great finishes. Some go to overtime. We got a lot to show you. Steamrolling to prime time, and then Seahawks at home against Denver. Coming up on NFL Prime Time, in the division showdown, we shuffle off to Buffalo. Whose D would stand tallest? Miami's heralded one or the Bills? Favre leads his pack into Dallas to face the new-look Cowboys. It's Miller time for the Bears. But will Moss grow in Chicago? Peyton's Colts look for another giant victory in New York, while Philly looks to fly high and upset the Skins. Kurt's Rams claw with Carolina. Can the Lions roar in Cardinal country, or would Arizona have their own plan? We'll fake you out on NFL Prime Time next. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson, and welcome to Week 10 of NFL Primetime. We hit double digits. It's kind of like a real mark in the NFL season. It's starting to take some shape. I mean, that AFC East is now a complete logjam. Some great finishes.
Well, the 10th week of the season, I think you start trying to measure where teams are, and it's still very difficult as you watch these teams week to week.
How about the NFC East? You think that's a little difficult to figure out? A couple teams went into it at 5-3, both the Giants and the Redskins. And Washington, you figure they're playing a team that doesn't score much, Tom. The Philadelphia Eagles, and Washington scores a bunch. Should be no problem, right? That's why they play the games. Here we go to the vet, where Donovan McNabb making his first career start. Redskins up 7-3 early, and you figure Philly gets down early, they're just out of it. Albert Connell, does he have wheels? He takes a little pass from Brad Johnson. Touchdown, 54 yards, it's 14-3 Skins. But the ensuing kickoff, here's Philly's best offense thus far. Playing possum with them is Allen Rossum. He could go all the way, 89 yards. It cuts it to 14-10, and then the Redskins start fumbling. Fumble sets up a field goal before the half. Mike Mamula hits Johnson, knocks the ball loose. 3 fumbles by the Skins. This help sets up a field goal for Norm Johnson, 21-16. Then Donovan McNabb showing why he was drafted so high.
Well, you just watch the athleticism here. Here he goes to Jeb Weaver, his tight end, falling away from the line of scrimmage, but his ability to avoid the rush. Here again, watch him step up through the pocket, move to his right, go left again, then turn on his speed, wants to get right past the first down marker, does a great job right there, and gets out of bounds.
So later in the drive, Deuce Staley is an ace. Look at him make the move at the 20, and then forget about it. Touchdown, 20 yards, 2-point conversion. Good. The Eagles lead after being down by 11. They're up 24-21. Fourth quarter, it's 27-21. Brad Johnson. Michael Westbrook, 43 yards. Skins back on top, 28-27. Then Johnson to Connell. But look at Al Harris. Strip goes as a pick. One of 3 interceptions to go with the 3 fumbles forced by the Philly defense. And so Philly capitalizes after a couple runs by Staley. Eric sleeping with Bieniemy. Touchdown, 11 yards, 2-point conversion. Philly, they go up 35-28. Norv Turner, Brad Johnson trying to figure out how to get in there. Steven Alexander catches the pass from Johnson, 11 yards. 4th down for the Skins. Oh, Mike Caldwell ends it all. You look at the numbers, and Washington had over 400 yards, and Philly on offense had just about 230. But 6 turnovers forced by the Eagles defense, and although 60 yards passing for Donovan McNabb in his first start aren't going to light the lamp. Tommy, Washington 5-4. I know they're still in first place the way it's now, but what? It just didn't look very polished.
Well, certainly their defense has been a question mark throughout the season and given up 400 yards of rushing offense the last 2 weeks. But you combine that with the fact that the Washington offense had 6 turnovers today. But I think what's most troubling for Norv Turner and his staff, and we saw some of that in the highlight package, the times that you see them stop defensively on plays where guys look like they're depending on someone else to make the play, that's lack of effort, and that's unacceptable.
And so the Skins, who came back big time after their earlier 2 losses this year, don't come back well at all. 2 straight losses for Washington. They're at 5-4. When we return, Cleveland goes into Pittsburgh, so you know what's going to happen there. I mean, they never win there. Tennessee and Cincinnati. Could Eddie George run on the Bengals? Browns at the Steelers. Opening drive for Cleveland. This is their first play. And Tim Couch hands off to one of the top 50 athletes of the century, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He runs for a first down. Now 2nd and 7 at the 35. Look at Couch to his fellow rookie Kevin Johnson. Hey, guess what? Remember that opening Sunday night game? Cleveland the whole game had 40 yards and 2 first downs. In the first drive, they had 3 first downs and 80 yards and a touchdown. Improvement. 3rd quarter, 7-6 Browns. Oh, watch out. Jason Gilden with a crush. Orpheus Roy recovers. Couch has his cushion scattered. Pittsburgh in business. 3rd and goal at the 5 after 2 good plays by Cleveland's defense. Richard Huntley Brinkley's his way into the end zone. 4 touchdowns against Cleveland in the 2 games for him. No 2-point conversion successful, but it's 12-7. Now 15-7, but John Pythagoras Theory with 6.5 to go. Goes right in and steals the ball from Cordell, sets up a touchdown. 15-13. It's a 2-point effort. Oh, they can't tie it. So still 15-13 Pittsburgh. Minute 50 to go, last chance Cleveland. Couch to Darren Chiaverini, plus a personal foul. Moves the ball down the field, sets up Phil Dawson, 40 yards. Very Groza-like. It's good! The Cleveland Browns have gone into Three Rivers Stadium, where the other Browns, with some real good teams, were 4-23 lifetime. These Browns win at 16-15. Where is Pittsburgh going?
Well, no balance on offense. Cordell Stewart throwing for about 130 or 140 yards for the last 3 or 4 games, but today he had the 2 INTs that killed him.
So Pittsburgh drops to 5-4, and what an emotional win, a great win for Cleveland. Titans at the Bengals. First drive of the game, Tennessee. At the 23, to give to Eddie George, power run, bumps outside. A little move at the 5, power running for 23-yard touchdown, 7-0 Titans. Look at Javon first. I look at the curse. Oh, he is a curse, the quarterback. It's a fumble by Jeff Blake. Helped set up a Titan touchdown, 14-0 Tennessee at the half. And boy, is Curse the rookie pass.
Well, look at his first step off the football. There against Rod Jones, a tackle, a great first step. And when he gets off the mark, he's almost impossible to stop. They're working against Anderson, comes back off the outside rush and strips the ball from Jeff Blake.
Now, here's the good news for Cincinnati. Every now and then, if you're the Bengals, you get a lot of kickoffs. And Tremaine Mack, that was their best offensive player. Mack once says off tackles that he could go all the way. 99 yards. The Bengals actually get back in the game. It's 14-7 late 3rd until Eddie George up the middle. Eddie George, touchdown. Tennessee ends up winning by 10. 24-14, Georgia, 123 yards on the day. Tennessee's defense, 7 sacks, holding Corey Dillon to 33 yards, which, Tom, as you point out, is 1 yard less than Jeff Blake had rushing 34. Not good when your big back doesn't outrush your quarterback. When we return, can Billy Joe lead the Saints over the Niners? And St. Louis had lost 2 to St. Louis, where the Rams were 6-0, now 6-2, and George Seifert has beaten him 13 straight times when he coached the Niners. He comes in with Carolina. Boy, does Kurt Warner throw a pretty ball. That's touchdown pass 25 on the year for him to Isaac Bruce. 22-yard touchdown, tying at 7 first quarter. And then you're in St. Louis. I said a Bud Light. It's Todd Light picking off Steve Berline. 57 yards. 4th pick of the year for Light. He's been a guiding light for St. Louis. 14-7 Rams. And you know what? People forget, Tommy, St. Louis has some real big-time players on defense.
Well, and Kevin Carter is one of them. You watch him coming from the top of the screen, and look at this rush. Now, watch his speed rush from outside. There he goes past the tackle, comes around and gets a piece of Berline. Then you're going to see him make another move here. This is going to be against the double team, and just watch him come inside, and this is great push by a defensive end. Pushes right back, the pressure right back on Berline, comes through, and gets another sack.
4 sacks, 8 hits, 9 pressures. That's just the first half. 2.5 sacks for Carter on the day. With the score 21-10 in the third. Berline to Wesley Walls. But it's a fumble. And Mike Jones. Knocking Jones. 37 yards. He coasts his way in for a touchdown at 28-10. Panthers came in off a big win. Thought they could beat the Rams. But I tell you what, St. Louis has impressed us even in defeat the last couple of weeks. And they blast Carolina 35-10, and again, offense, defense working off each other. Tom.
Well, the Kevin Carters, Grant Winston, Todd Light, guys who can make big plays, and they can do that and play opportunistic defense when they get that early lead.
And Warner, 2 touchdown passes, now has 26. He threw for 286 yards. The New Orleans Saints have not won since the first game of the year. The San Francisco 49ers, well, they've won 7 straight against New Orleans, but here's problem 1, 2, 3, and 4. Steve Young, ball cap, backwards, sideline. First quarter, Billy Joe Tolliver to Keith Poole. I want you to watch this. Boom! Zach Bronson doesn't separate him from the ball. He separates him from a helmet. So Poole takes a lick and it keeps on ticking. Sets up a Tolliver touchdown, 7-0 Saints. For Steve Mariucci, it's been a horrible season. And Tommy, the offensive line.
Well, that's number 92, Troy Wilson, the end, working on Derek Beast, coming around, hitting Stenstrom. But then you're going to see the same guy. Watch number 92 coming from the bottom of the screen. This time makes a nice inside cut right there and gets the ball carrier before he can get started.
Just 234 yards for the Niners on the day. The offensive line haven't been able to protect anyone, and certainly Stenstrom wasn't protected on this day. Tolliver to Ricky Williams, 14 yards. Lee Woodall looks like Evander, so it's been a tough 24 hours for Evander and Lee Woodall. He takes him down to the 2, and then play fake. Look at Billy Joe with 2 touchdowns in this game. 14-3 Nolens. With a score 14-6 third quarter, Tolliver buying some time. Oh, my God. I mean, look at this. Andre Battle of Hastings, 42 yards. And then same drive, 2nd and goal from the 11. Bing! The fire to Hastings, the touchdown. Tolliver, very businesslike. 12 of 15 for 242. Ran for 2. You saw the touchdown pass. Are we kidding? New Orleans, 24. San Francisco, 6. The San Francisco 49ers. Won 10 or more games every year since 1983. I think folks should understand this, Tom, that when a champion falls to the ground after such a long run like they're doing, it's not a pretty sight. We will never see this again in football, the way the rules are set up. This much excellence over almost 2 decades. But I think that Steve Young, as we talked about, hid a lot of the problems for about a year and a half. And once he didn't play anymore, everything else surfaced.
Well, that's my thought process, is that when you watch this team play the way they play now, offensive line in a shambles, no tight end, running back, a susceptible defense, and I think they would probably be winning if Steve Young were playing. So that's how good a ball player, a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer.
The problem is, it's not going to be pretty for the rest of the season. I don't know if it's going to be 4-12 or 7-9, but understand that we won't be seeing this again. It's just that it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing the Niners in the playoffs. To the AFC West tonight. Kansas City Chiefs at Tampa Bay Buccaneers at New Sombrero. Gunther Cunningham's team plus 14 turnover ratio, the best in football. Trent Dilfer, Dave Moore, and Tom, what? Jerome Woods is caught in the woods. What attempted tackle? Touchdown. Trent Dilfer's on a touchdown pass, 7-3. But, Mike, bad hands with Allstott.
Well, didn't do a good job of holding on to the ball today. There you see Reggie Tongue with the strip and Jerome Woods with the recovery. And then here they come again. Gang tackling on Mike Allstott. And you see Woods again making the final hit and popping the ball out.
For the third quarter, 10-3 Bucks. Dilfer play action. Throws to Jacquez Green. Tony Dungy said we're going to get Jacquez, which we did last week a little more on the offense. He's going to stretch the field. 17-3, but Allstott stripped by Chester McLaughlin. Look what happened. Whoop, whoop. They throw a flag because it's a forward lateral. The Chiefs ball. One last drive for Kansas City. Can Tampa's defense, so good all year, make the big play? Elvis Gerback to Tony Gonzalez. The Bucs are all shook up. Next, from the 34, it's Gerback. Trying to provide to the Tampa fans some heartbreak hotel. Elvis for 22 yards to Gonzalez to the 12. Second and 10 from the 12. Tick, 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 tick. It's 17-10. 24 seconds. They run the pattern again. This time, ESPN Hardy Har Nickerson is there to pick it off. Ice the game. And Tampa Bay, boy, it's been a tough climb up the mountain. They make it tough for themselves on offense. But I think 2 straight weeks of pretty good performances for Trent Dilfer. They win at 17-10. And the way this is played out at quarterback, with Zaire hurt and Dilfer now playing, really think it's going to work in Tampa Bay's benefit. They're starting to feel their sea legs on offense. You know they can play good defense. Vikings, Bears. First game at Soldier Field since Walter Payton passed away Saturday night. His son, Jared Payton, wearing number 34 now for Miami in their game against Virginia Tech. And there's the flag at half-mast, number 34 at Soldier Field. Jim Miller has had 1 NFL start. He threw for 83 yards. Look at this rainbow. DeMarcus Robinson beating Jimmy Hitchcock, starring in his own horror film. 77-yard touchdown, 7-0 Bears. Later in the first time at 7, Miller. The quick hit to Marty Booker. How about Booker's first NFL receipt? Jim Miller to Marty Booker. Are you kidding me? They're riddling the Vikings. 57 yards. Miller threw for 287 yards in the first half alone. This is only his second career start. 17-all, fourth quarter. Jeff George looking for Chris Carter. He already has 2 touchdowns. Flags coming on Terry Cousin. Remember the matchup? Later in the drive from the 1. George to Chris Carter. All he does?
Catch touchdown.
His third. 24-17 Minnesota. Bears get the ball under 2 minutes to go. Miller to Cuckoo Kachu. Marcus Robinson. 19 yards and rolls near the sideline. 3 plays later. Miller to Booker. Defender falls. Miller sees him. My goodness, we're tied at 24. The place goes bonkers. Vikings get the ball back with 43 seconds to go. Tommy, how can this happen on the slant to Randy Moss?
Well, the quick slant and then the speed by Moss. You see him running right past the angles for about a 40-plus yard gain there, and you start worrying about the football game at this point in regulation.
After the timeout, 2 plays later, 23 seconds to go. Pump fake. George, he slings it so fast to Moss. Walt Harris prevents the touchdown, but it looks like it's a chip shot field goal. After an almost fumble by Leroy Hort, the most prolific field goal kicker in the history of the NFL, Gary Anderson, misses a 20-yard field goal to win the game? Well, maybe somebody's smiling at all this. First play in overtime for the Vikings, intercepted by Walt Harris, but he falls down.
Stay up.
He felt he could have picked up 10 or 15 more yards, perhaps, after they pretty much don't try to move it on offense. Chris Bonio misses a 41-yard field goal. So George and the Vikes have another chance in overtime. Incomplete to Carter. Flag. Yay. Tight call on Terry Cousin.
Yeah, iffy call.
Gary Anderson, 38 yards. It goes about 40. But it's good. He redeems himself, and the Vikings. First of all, Jeff George has won 4 straight games for the first time in his career. Vikings have won 4 in a row to take a 2-4 start into a 6-4 record, into a bye week. And for the Bears, a tough loss. But you know what? George throws a beautiful ball, but he's got some pretty good guys to work with.
Well, Moss and Carter, 345 yards on 21 receptions. The most times going to win a football game, boom.
Hey, hats off to Jim Miller and the Bears. Miller, 34-48 for 422. The Indianapolis Colts, who hadn't won a road game for 2 years, they've now won a couple in a row, trying to win their 3rd straight road game. They're at the Giants on their own 1, Tom. Peyton Manning to Marcus Pollard. We fear no evil, say the Colts. 12 yards and a first down. And then look at Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison.
Well, they just understand each other. Even at that point where he's rolling and doesn't see Marvin open, he's going to get rid of the football. And there you see the exchange between Harrison and Felipe Sparks right there. And that's going to lead to something down the line.
On the next play, this is down the line. So they go deep to Harrison. It's a touchdown. And, hello, trying to, like a punter, draw a roughing penalty. It's 7-0 the Colts. Now it's 7-6 third quarter. Manning dumps it to Edgerrin James. I want you to watch this 33-yard run. Look, and he bangs Jeremy Lincoln, who loses that debate. It's a 33-yard game. Next play, we got the running back, and then Peyton Manning to starving Marvin Harrison. 57 yards, 14-6, Indianapolis. Still in the third with the score 17-6. This is, not only is this punt by Brad Maynard short, it's low. And the little guy, Terrence Wilkins, fields it at the 39. Whoop! Maynard's not going to get him. Neither than any other of the Giants. 39-yard punt return for a touchdown.
We will not say that often, 39 yards for a touchdown return of a punt.
24-6 Colts. James with a big hole, and look at this. We love him. He was with us last week, but Jason, the CNN's Jason Sehorn again. But then again, nobody can bring down Edgerrin James. 72-yard run sets up a field goal, 27-12. But the Giants have come back until they fumble once, but they're within 8, 27-19, a minute and a half to go. Kent Graham to Pete Mitchell. It's a fumble. And wouldn't you know it, a former Giant, Tito Wooten, falls on the ball. Chad Bransky, another former Giant, playing very well for the Colts. The Colts win it 27-19. Their 7-2 start, the best since the 1977 Baltimore Colts started 9-1.
Well, Big Three did an outstanding job again this week. This is a ball club playing outstanding football. And I think that even Coach Fossil has to be encouraged by the fact that he was able to throw the football downfield and did a good job today of getting it to Tiki Barber and seeing some good things on offense.
Elsewhere in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills came into the game at 6-3, which is good, except that in the tough AFC East, that's only good enough for fourth place. It was the third best record if they were in the NFC going in. The Miami Dolphins had not given up a touchdown in 14 quarters. Buffalo knew if they have their sights set on winning the division, a loss in this spot to Miami would pretty much relegate them to wild card contention. But on this day in Orchard Park, New York, it was a reminder that no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Wade Phillips knows it. Well, we cranked back and fired that one, didn't we? The Backstreet Boys sang the national anthem. Ted Washington from
Louisville.
301 pounds.
Doing the robot.
Pure rhythm. Damon Heward, 3-0 as a starter, picked off by #1 pick Antoine Winfield. Takes it back to the 22. Miami's defense holds to a field goal, 3-0. Sam Gash made the Pro Bowl last year as a fullback.
Watch him block here. First one on Sean Wooden. He goes in. He is reckless. He is putting his hat on the person that he's trying to get there. It was a linebacker. Here it's a corner, Patrick Surtain. And again, look at him stick his hat in there, and look at Antoine following in there.
25-yard gain sets up a Steve Christie field goal. Lightning strike it again for a 6-0 Bills lead. Now it's 9-0 Bills. Enough with these field goals. Doug Flutie has a healthy tight end. Now Jay Reamersma with Moles able to go real deep. Reamersma is a medium threat. 33 yards. 2 plays later, Jonathan Linton. 16-0 Buffalo. Later in the second quarter, Cecil Collins fractures left fibula. Unfortunate for the rookie. He's gone. Oh, he got to be gone for the year. Bruce Smith, and only 2 sacks coming in. He had 2 on the day. Never sacked Damon Heward before, obviously. Add another one to the list. Dolphins punt. 3rd and 1. Next possession, Buffalo. Play action. Eric Moles open. Oh, what a great play call for 52 yards. 23-3. The Bills lead it. Look at Wade. Now, he said he'd wear some navy blue. Oh, Wade is at the sweater. It's forgiven. Sweater and navy blue.
Yeah, and look at Sam Madison, the corner. This is 3rd down and 1. He gets stuck looking inside, and now he realizes the pass a little bit too late.
Now, this sums up the defense. You know they want a safety here, Tom. Miami trying to make something up. Oh, J.J. Johnson barely gets out of the end zone. 2nd down. Look at Bruce. Up. He can't get it. Conrad stuffed by number 20, Henry Jones. 3rd and 8 from the 3. Ooh, we smell a safety. They smell a safety. Oh, he just gets rid of it. Dan Marino. Well, it was that sort of game for Miami has not done well against the Buffalo Bills as the Bills beat him 23-3. Although Jimmy is 5-4 against them since he came to be the Dolphins coach, but since '87, when the Bills have gotten good, the Bills are now 21-9, and the only 2 losses this year for Miami are at the hands of the Buffalo Bills. Afterwards, Jimmy Johnson not thrilled.
Had a lot of things going on, talking about how good we were and quarterback controversies and everything in the world, except talking about our opponent, an opponent that had beat us pretty good before.
It felt to me like a day off. I was just kind of dispersing the ball a little bit and just getting in and out of the huddle.
They beat the hell out of us.
Well, as you look at more numbers, the numbers show it all. Basically, what you need to know is that Miami got 101 yards on the day, and Buffalo had 334. Miami had 6 first downs of the day, and I was in Buffalo this week, Tom, and they just felt very confident. It was their first home game in a month, and they felt that their defense stacked up with Miami's.
Well, and I think the other number that we need to know is that 48 carries for 177 yards rushing. A lot of people didn't think that the Buffalo Bills would be able to run the football, so I give Wade Phillips credit for not only running, but running that ball with commitment, and a lot of that due to the fact of what we saw in that highlight package. Sam Gash, what a great job from the fullback position.
And now pending the Monday night game in which New England is at home against the New York Jets. Miami 7-2, Indianapolis 7-2, New England is 6-2, and Buffalo is 7-3. 4 teams within a half a game in the AFC East. That division is stout. As we go inside the numbers, we mentioned that the Bills are 21-9 since 1987 against Miami. No teams have played more in any decade. They played 24 times this decade. The 21 wins, they run for 177 yards a game. Isn't it interesting that today they ran for exactly 177 yards a game?
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official car.
Oh, that funny AFC Central. Baltimore is at Jacksonville. What a surprise, no score. Fred Taylor would run for, what, 252 the last 2 weeks. Pulls up lame and drops to the ground. Left hamstring re-injured. No contact on the play. Done for the day. And when he's out, tell you what, Jacksonville's a different offensive team. Dave Thomas comes up the middle and blocks the punt. One of the McKenzie brothers. Jags takes over. Mike Hollis kicks a field goal. 3-0. Brian Billick's Ravens 4th and 1 at the Jags 27. Stoney Case to Aaron Price, who gets the first down, but it's a fumble. Fernando Bryant. They call him Fernando. Brian Billick cannot believe it. He was avid on the play. Ravens trail 6-3 in the 4th. Tony Banks at quarterback. To the missile, Kadri Ismail gets up. Appears to have it knocked away by Bryant, but they move these down by contact. Tom Coughlin read his lips. I don't like the call, sir. Just over a minute later, 6-3 game. Banks flushed out of the pocket. Gary Walker wraps him up short of the first down. I mean, it wasn't the most thrilling game we ever saw, but Jacksonville now with the best record in football at 8-1. They win it 6-3. Despite the fact that Baltimore, with a good defense, sacked Brunell 6 times. Jacksonville defense allowed 79 points, Tom, all year.
And the Jags, it's the 4th time this year they haven't allowed an offensive touchdown. It only happened 3 times in their first 4 seasons.
Those 79 points, the lowest in 9 games since the advent of a 16-game schedule. Rich Gannon for the Raiders, still playing with that fractured left wrist at home against the Chargers. Gannon, almost sacked by Michael Dumas. Dumps to Tyrone Wheatley. Former Giant, now good, now very good. Over Greg Jackson into the end zone, 26 yards, 7-0. The Raiders.
Yeah, and here Michael Dumas again trying to make the play. He doesn't. Tyrone Wheatley, he's been rejuvenated there in Oakland, and look at him run through tackles and get into the end zone.
Still in the first quarter, Charles Woodson. Hey, he's playing offense. He wants to. And on 2nd and 6, Gannon to Woodson. He turns it upfield, picks up a first down. Then he's knocked out of bounds 2 plays later. Gannon fakes the pass. Now we know he can run, so he's got the broken wrist and he's running anyway. He's going to bumbling, stumbling for 28 yards. A late hit and a flag on Dumas. That sets up a Ricky Dudley touchdown, 14-0 at the half. 21-3 Raiders 4th quarter. Jim Harbaugh. Freddie Jones. Oh, Eric Turner just nails him. They call it a personal foul. 4 plays later on 4th down, Harbaugh overthrows Freddie Jones. Now, this is such a promising start for the Chargers in September. Look at this now. Dumas, the defense going at the offense, and Jim Harbaugh. You just don't want to see it. You understand it a little bit. Frustration, as now the Chargers are 4-5, as the Raiders win handily by the count of 28-9, as San Diego, which is 12 first downs, the Raiders 25 and over 400 yards in the game. When we return, Detroit 6-2 with the best record in the NFC, coming in with a riddle Arizona, and Green Bay just doesn't. Lions at 6-2 going into Arizona, who's been horrible. Either Charlie Batch or Jake Plummer are going to play, or they're going to watch. Gus Farrat with a start. Now he's played well in relief twice. The Johnny's Mott diving catch 44 yards helped set up a touchdown.
Well, this straight go route by John Morton on Tom Knight. He just runs right by him there and makes an outstanding catch laying out for the football, Boom.
Dave Brown, with his full name on the back of the jersey, starts for Arizona. The Cardinals trail 3-2, but look at Michael Pittman with the screen, 45 yards. Blocked by Lester Holmes, and that sets up a touchdown, and Arizona's going to lead Detroit 10-7. In the third quarter, first offensive play for the Cards, Michael Pittman. Oh, he's hardly the Pitts. Look at him burst, 58 yards. Could go all the way. Touchdown, 23-7, Arizona. Pittman with 133 yards. 5.5 to go, 23-13, Arizona. Pittman hit by Luther Ellis. It's a fumble. Terry Fair picks it up, and the defense scores 23-19. A very curious decision by Bobby Ross. They go for two. They go for two, down by 4. And Farrat is going to be picked off by Ronald McKinnon, so it's 23-19. So what could happen if they get into field goal range? Well, we might find out. Farrat, Jermaine Crowell, 18 yards, first down. Farrat. Boy, he led that great rally last week against St. Louis to Johnny Morton for 10. 4th and 2 from what, the 10? They're down by 4, so they have to go for it. They can't kick a field goal. Farrat threw for 375 in the loss. But Detroit comes a cropper in the desert, losing 23-19, 5 sacks for the Arizona defense. Wow. Green Bay 0-7 in the 90s in Dallas. Troy Aikman, not playing. Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, not playing. Give Jason Garrett 4 or 5 games, 4 or 5 days rather than 4 or 5 minutes to get ready, and Dallas knows what he can do. But meanwhile, keep an eye at Deion Sanders. Favre looks deep for Corey Bradford. Sanders pulls up lame on the play. He did return. Second quarter, 7-0 Dallas. Favre in the end zone. They've had trouble in the red zone. It continued today. Picked off by Kevin Smith. What happened here to Favre, Tommy?
Well, you're going to see a shot of Bradford running across the middle of the end zone. Yes, he is open, but let's realize at this point, Brett Favre is now already out of the pocket and on the move. Difficult to look back and see that pass across the field.
Now here's Jason Garrett from
Princeton.
Hits Rocket Ishmael on the quick out. He's no scud here. He outruns the Packers defense, 37 yards, 17-3, Dallas. With the score 23 in the fourth quarter, can Favre pull the comeback in a place that has been his house of horrors? What a pretty play to Antonio Freeman. Leaps into the end zone. 20-10 now. Longwell field goal. It's now 20-13. Onside kick. Uh-oh. Packers have it. Minute 20 to go. Can Favre do it again? Favre. Zing to Bill Schrader. Down to the 25. 21 seconds left. Favre. Picked off by George Ice-T. He got laid out early in the game. T could go all the way. Packers 0-8 in Dallas in the 90s. Cowboys back into a first-place tie at 5-4 with Washington and the Giants. 27-13, Dallas beats Green Bay, who's now lost 3 in a row.
3 in a row for the first time in a long time.
First time in a while. When we return, game balls. Oh, man, we got a lot of candidates.
Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
You know what? When you have one start, you throw for 83 yards, and your second start is 422 yards, and you take the Bears to overtime against the Vikings, you get my game ball. Congratulations, Jim Miller.
Mine goes to Chris Carter. If there's been a better clutch receiver in the NFL, I want to know who he is. Maybe the best set of hands ever, Chris.
You've enjoyed this edition of NFL Primetime. Yowza season taking shape. For Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. Seahawks at home against the Broncos. Third NFC quarterback in the Pro Bowl. Meanwhile, Eddie George and the Tennessee Titans. They are 4-0 at home. One of 3 teams going to the weekend still undefeated at home. Cordell Stewart with his team down 7-0. Scrambles. This is a nice play. Finds Trey Edwards in the end zone. Look at Edwards. And the dunk is good, too. 7-7. Next drive of the Titans. Steve McNair has now looked great, but the Titans have been winning since he's come back. The play-action pass to perfection to Joey Kent. 24 yards. Same drive, and McNair on the quarterback draw.
Yeah, great athleticism once he decides to leave the pocket. There it was a planned run, but here he takes this, again, a planned run using his athleticism, and look at him ignore his body and get into the end zone.
That's his second rushing touchdown of the game, Tom, and look at the play again.
Yeah, again, he is basically a fullback or a tailback who has the ability to play quarterback, and once you get him outside the pocket, good things are going to happen.
Third quarter, it's still a 14-7 game. And Cordell Stewart, he's got to see this coming up the middle. Now, eventually, by the time he realizes what's going on, he's either going to get sacked for a safety or intentional grounding for a safety. The jaw out. Ooh, we haven't seen a jaw like that since Don Shula was really upset. 16-7 is the score. What? The dump pad just intercepted by Kenny Holmes. Cordell and the Steelers fall. And they've been 4-1 on the road, but the Titans now 5 for 5 at home. Tennessee is 8-2 as they beat the Steelers by the count of 16-10. And among the things they do well, I mean, this wasn't a scintillating game offensively. 5 more sacks for Tennessee, Tom. That's 22 in the last 4 weeks.
And a commitment to the run by Coach Fisher. The 21 carries, 83 yards for Eddie George, but he had another 10 carries from Steve McNair as well, 32 total.
When we return on NFL Prime Time, sometimes the littlest guys are the most important ones. Tampa Bay in a low-scoring game with Atlanta, and the Pack trying to get off the schneid at home against first-place Detroit. Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs have clawed their way back in it, looking for offense. But offense early from Tim Dwight. Boy, he just has the motor running all the time, Tommy. Takes the handoff following a Trent Dilfer interception. 10-6 Falcons at the half. Chuck Smith rushes in, hits Dilfer's leg. He would limp off. It was a third down play. He never missed the snap, although for a while it looked like he would. It's a 10-6 game late fourth. Martin Gramatica for his third field goal of the game from 50 yards. Good. The rookies cut it to 10-9. And then, while he exults, next couple series, here's Trent Dilfer with 3 minutes to go on 2nd and 8. And he's learned some.
Well, a couple of good decisions by Trent Dilfer. They're under pressure. He doesn't throw the football away. He's going to go up and get something positive, gets 9 yards there. Then you watch him here. He realizes he's in field goal range. This is a third down play, 3rd and 8. He goes back. He's not going to take the sack. He gets rid of the football, throws it into open space, gives his team a chance to score.
But with 1 minute to go, he couldn't afford to take any sack because it's a 53-yard attempt to take the lead by Gramatica. It's Gramatica correct. He drilled it. 53 yards. Tony Dungy exults. But Atlanta's got one chance. It's only 12-10. It's a blackjack game. Hit me. So they do. It's in and out of the hands of Winslow Oliver. Donnie Abraham. It's Abraham, Martin, and John all the way to the end zone. 47 yards. The Bucs with a late field goal and Abraham Sealer. His first touchdown. He's been one of the fine defensive backs. He hadn't scored before. Tampa Bay beats Atlanta 19-10. And at 6-4, the Tampa Bay Bucs are now tied for first in the NFC Central, and Trent moving on a little bit.
Even though he only threw for 140-plus yards.
Meanwhile, the Lions came into the day in first place in the NFC North. Could Green Bay lose 3 in a row at home? Brett Favre and the Packers have struggled in the end zone. We saw it this morning on NFL Countdown. Bryant Westbrook breaks up a pass. Pack settled for a field goal, although he was all over Schrader, Tom.
We see interference calls so often. Watch what Westbrook does to Schrader here, and he never gets the call. So, you know, a lot of times it's a mystery as to what the officials see.
So twice in the red zone, the Pack can only get a field goal at 7-6 Detroit. Gus Frerotte starting for an injured Charlie Batch. Touchdown to Jermaine Crowell, who had a big day. He had 8 for 112, and the Lions lead 17-12 at the half. But in the second half, first bad news, real bad news for the Pack. Antonio Freeman, a hit from the helmet from Mark Carrier. Leaves the game with a concussion, does not return. Next play, Favre for Corey Bradford. Not a catch, but an interference penalty on Terry Fair. It was unfair. 41-yard penalty. Next play, you like this after you have a team back on its heels a little bit, Tom. Favre to the end zone, and Bradford makes this tremendous catch. The Pack end up getting a 2-point conversion to make it 20-17. Favre ecstatic. Bradford with a big catch, and Bobby Ross wanted to challenge it.
Well, what a great catch by Corey Bradford, and you have to get the help of the guys upstairs if you're Bobby Ross. Corey Bradford right here going to bobble this ball a little bit at first with one hand, but he clearly brings it in, gets it into his body, and has control before he ever rolls out of bounds. So the challenge cost the Lions a timeout.
So the score now 23-17 late third. Barat is picked off by Fred Vinson, just overthrown, and Vinson returns into Lions territory. The Lions with, 4 times as many penalty yards as yards in total offense in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Favre out of his end zone. He's feeling it. A little more rhythm in the second half. Favre to Bill Schrader, 35 yards. They chew up the clock. The Lions eventually down to about the 6-yard line, but they were down 9. They couldn't convert late. And so the Packers end up winning it 26-17 to even their mark at 5-5. And they did it just in time because with Green Bay, they knocked Detroit now back into a tie for first place with now 6-4 Tampa and idle Minnesota. Dorsey Levens more in the air than on the ground, but 146 total offense yards.
Well, yeah, he had 99 yards receiving. He had the 10 catches. And anybody who watched Sunday Countdown this morning heard the Packers talk about missing Mark Chmura in the short passing game. So hopefully they found a guy who can do that in Dorsey Levens. He also had 43 yards rushing. But the main thing, Brett Favre had a good day. He didn't throw any picks. First time in 6 games he hasn't thrown any picks. And I'd venture to say when Brett doesn't throw picks, the Green Bay Packers are going to win. 4
of their last 6 are on the road, so this is really a must-win for the Green Bay Packers. Let us say something here. Brett actually got penalized the second time for that throat thing. You saw Ricky Waters do it. You see players doing it in college and pro football. Cut it out. It's not needed in the NFL. It's not needed in real life. There is a part of being an athlete that you are a role model. Nobody wants to see it. It doesn't help your team win games. It helps you look like a loser. Can we stop it now and just play football? It's one of the worst things that we have seen on the field in a long, long time. When we return on NFL Primetime, Edger and James. Boy, can anybody stop the Colts? The Eagles are the latest to try. And big games in the AFC East. New England at Miami.
Welcome to onsale.com. Going sideways. Folks, this is the Cyberbaiter. It guides you through the computer store inside your computer. 11th floor, where the biggest computer brands are always on sale. Virtually speaking. Going diagonal, auctions hard to find items, and the Love Lounge? Whoops. Someone's mouse is wandering. Remember, at onsale.com, we're comparing
13 the last 2 years. But Jim Morris, Colts, with a 5-game winning streak coming into Philadelphia. Edger and James could go all the way. And you get him near the goal line, you're just not going to bounce him out of bounds. He's got such power, Tom. 17-0, 2 touchdowns per game. We're in the first quarter.
And that allows the Colts defense to put some pressure on. First, it's Chad Bradsky. Then it's Larry Chester. It's Ellis Johnson with the recovery of the fumble. So once they get you down, they then can attack the quarterback.
And Donovan McNabb saw more Colts. Look at Belzer come in.
Yeah, Jason Belzer coming off the edge. And Donovan McNabb going to fumble the ball. Mark Thomas going to recover for him at the 10, put him in scoring position.
And here's what happened, Tom.
Well, look at Kevin Turner. There on the right side. He's coming all the way down the line looking for the guy that he's supposed to be blocking, Jason Belzer, to his far right outside. He just couldn't get there. They call that dual protection for a lineman. It's an impossible block for a running back.
Well, McNabb had won his first start last week with minus 24 yards, first 5 possessions. Meanwhile, Manning to Harrison following a miscue, 27-0. It's 30-3 at the half. Then, first possession, third quarter. Watch the play action by Peyton Manning. And what a fake, Tom.
Well, if you're a defensive back, you don't see the football, Chris.
This is the little guy, Terrence Wilkins, who scored touchdowns 4 different ways this year. This is the conventional, the pass reception for 80 yards, 37-3. And a rare sight. Oh, my God, it's Steve Walsh might go into the game. Peyton Manning, after 1,590 straight snaps, gives way to Walsh. The little screen pass to Keith Elias from Princeton. And it picks up 6 yards. So Peyton Manning, for the first time ever in his pro career, in his year and a half, actually watches somebody else play quarterback. And the Indianapolis Colts are 8-2. Remember, the young team blew leads to the Jets in Miami. They could be 10-0. And Tommy, this was a spot for them to, quote, struggle a young team
I think they got the possible MVP of the league right now playing quarterback for them.
455 yards of total offense. The defense making turnovers left and right. And as we go inside the numbers, I mean, it's just another almost 200-yard week for Edger and James. 199 yards in total offense, giving him in 4 straight weeks, 205, 199, 180, and 199. Now, he replaced Marshall Faulk. Remember, they got a 2 and a 5 for Marshall, who last year led the NFL with over 2,200 yards from scrimmage. Can you believe that Edger and James, the rookie, is ahead of Faulk's pace from last year? It's not like Marshall's having a bad year with the Rams either. But yowza, they got their man in Edger and James.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official card of the NFL. Log on to ESPN.com for more Inside the Numbers.
While the Colts are winning to go 8-2, could the Jets be a spoiler as they were on Monday night? They played Buffalo. New England trying to get off the mat, as is Miami.
So.
Sunday Night Football. I mean, the misconception Ricky Williams had a bad year. He is not. He's had a real good year. The Saints have had a bad year. But they won last week, and they're playing the Jags after primetime. Toughest division by far, the AFC's Buffalo and the Jets. Big winners last week for the Jets for the second straight week, going with Ray Lucas. Vinny Testaverde trying to help him. Lucas Monday night won for the first time as a starter since his Rutgers days. But look at him avoid the pressure with Bruce Smith wrapped around him and dump it to Keyshawn Johnson. 18-yard pickup. Same drive, second quarter now. Lucas buying time, and he can do this, Tom. And he's trying to make something happen.
Well, we talk about pocket presence and a guy making positive plays, and that's what Bill Parcells loves about it.
7-0 Jets. The Natalie-clad Bill Belichick's defense. Second quarter with 10 minutes to go, and they register a huge play. Doug Flutie, first in trouble by Ray Mickens off the corner blitz. Then it's a fumble. Eric Obagu from
Irvington, New York.
falls on it, and it's 14-0, the Jets. And then Flutie makes a miscue at the other end late in the second half of the second quarter, picked off by Victor Green.
Well, he wanted the tight end, Bobby Collins, to come back to him. You see in motion right there. That is exactly what you said, miscommunication between receiver and quarterback.
And then Keyshawn Johnson let him throw the damn ball. It's incomplete to Wayne Corbett, but he really winged it. 14-0. Now it's 17-0 third quarter. Finally, Buffalo making something happen. Doug Flutie, whirly birds. Look at the jump pass. Like a shortstop from in the hole, the peerless Price. First NFL touchdown, 17-7. Under 7 to go. Jets on 4th and 1, and Curtis, my favorite, Martin, is stopped by the Bills. Bill likes to gamble on 4th down. Now it's the Bills gambling on 4th and 2, and look at the play Flutie makes and runs upfield for 20 yards. Then he tries to make some more happen. Whoop, and that's enough. And the ball is booted out of bounds. It goes out of the 22. 4 minutes later, first and goal. Flutie, what happened? Jason Wiltz has it for the Jets in one of the most bizarre. Look at doink, doink off the back of John Fina, doink into the hands of Wiltz.
Sometimes things just go your way.
And so the Jets make the big plays near the goal line, both on defense and on offense. The Bills could not capitalize on their huge win over Miami last week, so they fall to 7-4. And maybe, although the division is so tough, maybe, just maybe, the Jets, at least in their minds, feel we're more than spoilers. We're alive at 4-6. Brian Cox says, hey, this one felt good.
Basically, this is the only team that really kicked our ass. So to come back and play as well as we did and get the victory, you know, it just, you know, makes you feel good, because it's like as a kid, you get a guy that whoop your ass once or twice. If you don't go back and face that person, he gonna keep whooping your ass.
So the Jets, who gained only 208 yards on offense and only 64 rushing on 23 carries from Curtis Martin, beat Buffalo because they made the big plays and Buffalo did not. And Wade, you know what? Let's rethink it. Go back to the sweater. I'm allowing you to go back to the sweater. Meanwhile, the Patriots, off their hangover on Monday night, don't face Dan Marino. They face Damon Heward, who led Miami to a huge comeback in Foxborough earlier this year. Chad Eaton recovers a pitch to J.J. Johnson, and 2 plays later, a rare sight, Terry Allen in the end zone running.
Well, Terry Allen up the middle of the field, and those are the kinds of holes that you really haven't seen in the running game for the New England Patriots.
Drew Bledsoe picked on what a great year Sam Madison's having. He dollies his way upfield for his 6th interception of the year, sets up a moderate field goal. That kind of day for Bledsoe. Then Miranda Gadsden. Look, I mean, we know he's an athletic sort.
Well, physically, he's so much bigger than the corners that are covering him. Right there, it was Steve Israel, and right here, it's going to be to Bucky Jones. But again, his sheer size makes him a guy who is available to the quarterback on those kinds of short passes.
And then Heward, who is mobile, finds Gadsden between defenders, both the quarterback and receiver, making nice plays. 10-10. Third quarter, same score. They fought the law. The law did not win. Gadsden outleaps Ty Law, 17-10 Miami. After a J.J. Johnson touchdown makes it 24-10 Bledsoe. Late third, Deshaun Jefferson moving on up. Burns T-Buck, 68 yards, 24-17, New England back in it. Late in the third, Willie McGinnis charging. Trying to play ferocious, sometimes a little bit too much. And on this play, it appears, although there's so much blood after the game they couldn't tell, broken nose for Heward, carted off Zolak, Z-O-L-A-K, Zolak, playing against his ex-mate. But meanwhile, this one off Simmons' fingers. Brock Marion picks it off. Bledsoe makes the tackle out of frustration. That was not his fault, Tom. This was to Jason Taylor.
Well, misread of the screen. Jason Taylor does a great job of reading what's going on behind him, falls back in the screen. Drew Bledsoe doesn't see him.
That leads to a field goal, so now down 10. Bledsoe trying to make something happen. Jerry Wilson makes the pick. 5 different Dolphins with interceptions. Not since his rookie year in '93 has Drew Bledsoe thrown a 5-interception game. Pete Carroll's Patriots have lost 2 in a week. So even though Buffalo lost, they remain 4th place as they fall to 6-4. And Miami keeps pace with Indianapolis atop the division. They are 8-2. And Tommy, this AFC East, it doesn't get easier. There's a big game in this division every week. And the Jets now, not only spoilers, but a team that feels that they're in it, as we said. Is there a recurring theme here?
Well, running the football. Bill Parcells goes against the Buffalo Bills, who have done a great job of running the ball lately. He did a better job today of handing the ball off to Curtis Martin, which leads us right to Miami and New England. New England does not try to run the ball to 13 carries for Terry Allen, not enough to be consistent in that running game. So that translates into pressure on Drew Bledsoe. And yes, he threw 5 interceptions, but if you're a front 7 and you don't respect the run, then you're going to come after the quarterback.
So the Jets win with 208 yards in offense. Miami wins with 229 yards of offense. How long will the Parcells hangover hang? Johnson, 25 yards, 24-14. Bengals next possession. Jeff Blake looking for Carl Pickens. Dwayne Starks. Ball hung up there, and Starks legs it in the end zone. Strutting at 43 yards, 31-14. They're Ravens. So the Bengals led 14-0. Now it's 31-14 Baltimore. Craig East picks it up at the 13. I'm not going to do it. Make some moves. Make some spins. Boy, it's a great couple of close call blocks. Good. Go. All the way. But there's a flag on the play. Kyle Richardson blocked in the back by Tremaine Mack. But Phil Luck gets cruised at the flag. That we didn't mean it. And it's 31-28. The Bengals trail then Blake for Tony McGee. With just 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter, incomplete, but interference. So 1st and goal, the Bengals could only get a field goal. We're tying at 31. So instead of the touch, the field goal allows Baltimore's Tony Banks to hit Aaron Pierce and then to set up Matt Stover for 50 yards. It's good. So it's 14-0 Cincy, 31-14 Baltimore, 31-all with the Bengals at the 1, but they only get a field goal. And the Ravens win it 34-31. Quote this highlight, nevermore. Banks threw for close to 300 yards. Blake threw for 3 touchdowns. Bruce Conklin 2-20 his last 22 games. They, after 17 straight loss to the 49ers, the Rams trying to sweep San Francisco. Steve Stenstrom to Terrell Owens. Just play some up both teams, Tom. Terrell Owens with about a 40-yard pickup when he's hit by Billy Jenkins at the fumble, and Devin Bush picks it up, and we go the other way. Mariucci says, oh, my God, I've seen this all year. 3-0 Rams, Charlie Garner.
Watch J.J. Stokes here. Just take a look at the blocking. They've always been known as the 49ers for great blocking by their wide receivers. He gets one guy. He moves. He gets another guy, chops him down, and a large Charlie Garner to get a 30-yard gain down the field.
And then memories of the old days. It's Fred Beasley. He scores, and the Niners lead 7-3 to the enjoyment of Steve Young. But it's the Rams' year, and Kurt Warner, quarterback, draw him. And then they fear no evil here, setting up a 1st down. Warner rolls out, hits Isaac Bruce for his 5th touchdown against San Francisco this year, his 11th TD of the season. 13-7 3rd quarter. Stenstrom tipped by DeMarco Farr, picked off by Mike Jones, and along came Jones. 44 yards, 7th return touchdown for the Rams this year. So after the Niners had an early lead, St. Louis goes on to beat him 23-7. Just 1 touchdown pass for Warner. That gives him 27 on the year. Marshall Faulk ran for 126. Bruce caught 11 balls. Hey, the St. Louis Rams at 8-2 are in the division making a mockery. They are, 4 up in the NFC West. My God, we're not even at Thanksgiving. We return atop the NFC East. Who will come out on top? Emmett Cast, on his other hand, well, how's he going to carry the ball, Tommy? 1st quarter, 21-yard pickup, which sets up a Cowboy touchdown, 7-0. So it's Jason Garrett against Dave Brown. And Dave Brown, well, Here's good pressure from Dallas.
Well, these athletic ends. First, you're going to see Greg Ellis, and then you see a linebacker, Dexter Coakley, come in and put some pressure on the quarterback, and this is what they've been able to do of late.
Brown, the flip back from Adrian Morello. Oh, those tricky Cardinals. 21 yards to Rob Moore. They had 55 yards in the first half, but 69 on this drive in the third quarter, and they take the lead. So it's 13-7 Arizona. Emmett. Well, they faked the end around those tricky Cowboys. 15 yards. Emmett at 127 yards. You got to give him the nod. The only one of the triplets playing. But the Swami's cousin, who had a better day than the Swami, Kwame Lassiter, stops Emmett. No first down on 4th and 1 at the 9-yard line. After they take an intentional safety because they didn't want to punt the Dion, they punted Dion because it's a safety. And Scott Player only has the one bar, the Joey T helmet. 21 seconds to go, 4th and 2. Again, Arizona on 2 fourth-down plays, deep in their territory, hold the Cowboys. And here's what's amazing. At 4 and 6, Arizona is right back in the hunt with Dave Brown. The defense has come alive. They beat Dallas, Tommy, 13-9, despite the fact that they threw for only 115 yards. Giants, Redskins, both teams coming in 5 and 4. Jim Fossil, Norv Turner. Both guys with big decisions. Stephen Davis, who had 3 touchdowns in a half an hour in the first meeting, which Washington scored 50 points. 15th touchdown of the season, 7-0 Skins. Ensuing Giants possession. Oh, those tricky Giants. It's the flea flicker. Kent Graham. Hey, picked off by Darrell Green in the end zone. He has 49 interceptions for his career. And although on paper this wasn't a smart move, he's Darrell Green, and that's fine. 10-3 late second quarter. On the one, Stephen Davis fumbles and Keith Hamilton recovers. Both teams keeping each other in the game.
Well, you can see Jesse Armstead in the backfield before the play ever got started. It looked like Stephen Davis had his head up on Armstead rather than getting the football, but you can see the play was botched from the very beginning.
Graham's slight concussion. Kerry Collins played a late second quarter. Looked good. He's hit by Marco Coleman. Picks up the loose ball, 42 yards for a touchdown, 20-6 Skins. On 3rd and 16, the well-dressed Amani Toomer catches the pass from Collins. Charles Way scores. Giants down by 7. 4 minutes to go. The Giants look good, and the Collins fumbles. Kennard Lang recovers. 5 Giant turnovers. Washington could have blown them out in the first half. They didn't. The Giants then could have come and tied it. They could have stopped Brad Johnson here. They do on 3rd down, but look at the bottom of your screen. A late hit by Percy Ellsworth, jumping on Jensen, hits a penalty, keeps the drive going. I got to tell you, this is a battle for first. Both teams kept both teams in the game. Eventually, Washington won it 23-13, and they're the only team in the division above 500 at 6 and 4.
But at least the Washington Redskins have that offense, and they have Stephen Davis going with the 33 carries.
For 183 yards for Stephen Davis. When we return, Bears, Bolts. It was so good we had to go extra time. Bears at Bolts. And you know, Dick Geron's Bears have been competitive. As a tough loss last week to the Vikings, they've been very impressive. Every quarterback on San Diego is an ex-Bear. The one who started was Jim Harbaugh. Here's a 2-yard pass to tight end Junior Seau. Nailed by Ricardo McDonald. His first career reception for number 55.
Well, and Junior Seau took a big hit, but the thing you love about Junior, watch him here, he's going to do a nice job of playing tight end, sliding to the outside, takes this big hit, helmet high. Junior bounces up, he's all fired up to get back into the huddle.
The Chargers actually led it 10-3, but Jim Miller to Marcus Robinson. Cuckoo, Mr. Robinson, 38 yards. We're tied at 10. Curtis Enos runs over Michael Dumas for a 3-yard touchdown. The Bears lead it late 3rd, 17-10. Harbaugh to Chris Penn. And he catches it down to the 34. On 2nd and 10, down 20-17 in the 4th. Harbaugh to Jeff Graham. He crackers his way out of bounds after picking up the first down. 3rd and 7 from the 10. Harbaugh to Graham. Oh! He drops it in the end zone. Watch the replay.
Bad place.
Oh, man. John Carney, Sheila McCray. They tie it with a field goal. It's 20-all. We go to overtime. Miller, long to Robinson. Great catch. He's a big target. They're in field goal range. Chris Bonio. Good. It's good. And the Bears at 5 and 6 I know they're in last in the NFC North, but they're just a game and a half out of first. Meanwhile, the once 4-1 Chargers have lost 5 in a row to fall to 4-6. So in overtime, Chicago wins it.
Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
You know what? We don't often give him the kickers. He's a rookie with the NCAA record of 65 yards, a 50 and a 53 to put the Bucs in the league. Martin Gramatica, correct for Tampa Bay gets my game.
And mine goes to Ricky Waters. His 24 carries, 107 yards. He had 2 rushing TDs and 1 receiving TD, 3 touchdowns. They went into Kansas City and they won.
In a recurring theme this year, for the 5th time this season, a team with a bye, Minnesota, goes into first place. For Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching. Saints-Jags coming up.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome.
Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. We had the band in the morning, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. We are the Big Bad Voodoo Daddies who are left. Let us be the last to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
There's some divisional titles on the line, but you know what? Some of the wackiest divisions, the teams at the bottom giving the teams at the top a hard time, Tom.
Well, I think that's what the league had depended on this year, parity, and I think we've truly got it now.
We have it, and, you know, if you look back to 1 month into the season, Minnesota Vikings were struggling. The San Diego Chargers, seems like a long time ago, they were 4-1 in first place in the AFC West. When they met today at the Metrodome, no question that these were 2 teams going in opposite directions. Here we go, the Minnesota Vikings, and they retired the number of Jim Marshall, one of the all-time greats before the game, number 70. Hopefully one day he'll be in the Hall of Fame. 7-0 Chargers, which was a surprise, and Jeff George deep. Oh, let me tell you about Chalet Dimre. It picks it off. Chargers' first pick in 5 games. But then, Tommy, all right, so they're going to guard deep. What do we do?
Well, Chris Carter, very safe pass, a little hitch pass to him on the outside. You're going to see Jeff George throw another one, Chris. Again, this is the setup for the downfield throw.
Well, because as you mentioned, it's the first play of the second quarter. But no, we faked the short one. Then deep to Randy Moss. Dimry, not bad coverage, but is beaten. And we're tied at 7. Now, still second quarter. Look at Jeff George. Look where he is when he throws the ball. He's in the end zone. He doesn't really step into the throw. Tommy, this ball goes almost 60 yards in the air. Moss catches it, then whoop, whoop. So let me go over here. A 60-yard pickup sets up a Jake Reed touchdown pass, 14-7 Vikes. Same score now, late second quarter. George down to the 4-yard line, whoop, to Chris Carter. All he does?
Catch touchdown.
Carter now has 900 catches, joining only 3 others in that category: Jerry Rice, Art Monk, and Andre Reed. Well, so Jim Harbaugh, did they bench him in the third quarter? No. And the move by Mike Riley pays off. The dump to Kenny Bynum. And where are the Vikings, Tom? They're just not there. Scores 28-7, but this goes 80 yards to make it 28-14. Chargers have scored a touch. They've scored a field goal. And then the Vikings. Robert Smith flips it back to Jeff George, the flea flicker to Chris Carter. All he does?
Catch touchdown.
2 of them. He's got, what, 10 in his last 6 games? 35-24. But Jim Harbaugh saying, Jeff George, I can throw it out of the end zone, too. Hey, Harbaugh threw for over 400 yards. That one to Jeff Graham, who crackered his way for a 49-yard game. But it was too good to be true. Down 8, the pick by Robert Griffin. Where the Vikings, who took about a month and a half to get going to play the frenetic ball, beat the Chargers 35-27. So the Vikings, who were 2-4, have won 5 straight. The Chargers were 4-1, have lost 6 straight. And Tommy, Minnesota at 7-4 is where they need to be, atop their division. But Jim Miller, they had a bye last week. So the game before that, Jim Miller threw for 400 yards. Jim Harbaugh threw for 400 yards against the Vikings. Can they win giving up that many yards in the air?
We always talk about teams that are one-dimensional, and the Minnesota Vikings are living off of their offense. Jeff George and Carter and Moss and company putting up the points. When it comes to their defense, they lack consistent pass rush. They don't tackle well in the secondary. And as we saw in that highlight package, they take very, very bad angles when they are pursuing to tackle. So unless they can straighten out those things, when they play a team that has solid defense, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they don't put up the 35 points.
Well, Monday night, they play a team with solid defense at Tampa Bay. But here, that's the bad news. The good news is the Vikings are now 7-4 after a sluggish start. And exciting again. When we return, exciting. Oh, the Bengals are going to go to Three Rivers and win? Well, The Bills, could they circle the wagons against the Pats? Team has fallen to 5-5. Can they get up? Jeff Blake, who ripped him for close to 400 yards at Three Rivers last year. The only thing is the ball almost went out of the top of the screen. Darnay Scott on a beautiful play, 76 yards, 7-0 Bungles. They lead it 14-3. Cordell Stewart, who has struggled again, struggled some more. Rodney Heath, where's this ball going? Rodney, I tell you, he needs a little respect. 58 yards for Rodney Heath, 21-3 Bengals.
And look at the indecision as we take another look. Cordell Stewart staring down the receiver, but look at the moment that the ball's caught by Rodney Heath. You've got a receiver 10 yards behind him, a receiver about 10 yards in front, ball nowhere near him. Rodney Heath bringing it back down the field.
So Bill Cowher has got to do it. He benches Cordell Stewart, and he goes to the veteran Mike Tomczak. 2 minutes left, second quarter. Tomczak trying to get the Steelers in the game. Down 24-6. He does it. To Bobby Shaw, 15-yard touchdown. Cordell applauding. Steelers down 24-13. Now, these are the Bengals, Tom. Wait a minute. We're leading at Three Rivers? You kidding? No, I don't believe it. Michael Bastine says you were leading? What? What was that? It's a motion penalty or lack thereof. And Doug Batson the Pelfrey with 6 minutes to go. Can't give Bruce Coslett a 10-point lead, so the Steelers are in it. But down 27-20 on fourth down, Tomczak. That's Rodney Heath, the man you saw with the pick. Bruce Coslett's Cincinnati Bengals have gone into Three Rivers and beaten the Steelers 27-20. They get a $120 running for Corey Dillon. Now, wait a minute, Tom. At Three Rivers, the Steelers have lost at home this year to Cleveland and Cincinnati. What?
I played in Three Rivers. They've lost 6 out of their last 7 home games, and the Bengals show they have a little bit of talent, not as bad as they appear to be.
The record just isn't what maybe it could be at 2-10. When we return, here's a record that's pretty darn good. Titans go for their 13th straight win in the division, and Jacksonville tries to stay one up on Tennessee. They had their hand following primetime. We stay in the AFC Central. Tennessee has won 12 straight division games. They're in Cleveland to face the Browns. Tim Couch, first start, he was sacked 7 times by Tennessee, and more trouble here.
Look at the 2 linebackers, Wortham and Robinson on the outside. They're in double coverage on number 42, and then you see they clear away for Couch because they double cover the back Kirby.
You know, no one knew that he could run that well. Tommy's run for almost 300 yards this year, and that helps the Browns take a lead. Well, we're tied at 7 in the second quarter, and here's Terry Kirby, and he's going to just beat Marcus Robertson, number 31, and Kirby scores 78 yards. The Browns at home leading Tennessee 14-13, early third quarter. Kevin Johnson is stripped of the ball by Anthony Dorsett. Greg Favors returns the favor and recovers it for Tennessee. 4 plays later, Steve McNair, design rollout, escapes Jameer Miller, and he's going to leap. No need to leap. It's a touchdown, 20-14 Tennessee. Still the same score, third quarter. Chris Gardocki will punt it. This is Derek Mason from his 35. And he could go all the way. 26-14 Tennessee. Under 4 minutes to go, first and goal, Tennessee. The block by Frank Wycheck there springs Eddie George. Second touchdown of the game for George. The Titans go on to lead 33-14. Cleveland scored late. John Theory wonders what could have been. Hey, Bruce Matthews in this game, 259th career game, playing on the offensive line, tying the NFL mark set by one of our favorites and a former colleague, Jackie Slater of the Rams. Titans win at 33-21. They've won 13 straight games in the division, Tom.
And even the great 70s teams that the Steelers had did not do that.
The record is the 72-73 Dolphins, 15th straight division wins. Of course, they beat everybody. Jags, Ravens. 2 weeks ago, 6-3 Jacksonville. Tom Coughlin, 7-0 lifetime against Baltimore. Tony Banks to Kadri Ismail, but the missile is a scud. It's a fumble. Patrick Johnson, well, no, but he picks it up. Oh, those tricky Ravens, just like Brian Billick diagrammed it, helped set up their touchdown, 7-0. Mark Brunell rolling out to Jimmy Smith. 8-yard touchdown. It's a 10-7 Ravens lead. 16-14 Ravens, fourth quarter. to Tony Brackett. The big guy scores. 22-16, Tom.
Well, this is great instincts by a great athlete. You see Tony Brackett's initially on the pass rush. He backs up into the air to the screen, and Tony Banks throws him the ball.
And then, though, Tony Banks, he can break your heart. He can win your heart. He's got great skills. Look at the bomb to Jermaine Lewis down inside the 5. Next play, Banks. Nice swing to Chuck Evans. Ravens lead 23-22. Under 6 to go. Brunell the slant to Jimmy Smith. It's a 16-yard gain. Brunell to Smith. It's a 13-yard gain. First down. 3rd and 3. Down to the 36. Pressure. Watch the play Brunell makes, and then watch the stick he takes. Boom! He's short of the first down. It's 4th and 1. 3 minutes to go. Tom Coughlin's going to go for it. Brunell rolls. Now, here's that offense we've been looking for, Tom. To Keenan McCardell, first down. After a penalty makes it 1st and 15. Scramble, throw, McCardell, 21 yards, first down. 3rd and 5 from the 9. The hand to Jimmy Stewart, James Stewart. It's a first down run. 1st and goal from the 4. It's Stewart. It's a wonderful, wonderful touchdown. 4 yards. Touchdown. They make a 2-point conversion. Their second one of the game, and it's 30-23. Banks trying to make something happen with a minute to go, but he just doesn't feel Kevin Hardy, and Brackett is there.
You have to have some pocket presence and pocket awareness, and you just don't see it in Tony Banks' game.
23-point fourth quarter for the Jaguars, who, remember, had a big second half on Sunday Night Football here last week against New Orleans. So they win it 30-23, and so Jacksonville remains one up on Tennessee. 10-1 to the Titans, 9-2. Boy, atop this division is very interesting, and I find it interesting, Tom, that like we showed, we've been waiting. You know, Fred Taylor's out. It's like Jacksonville forgets how to play offense, but second half, last 2 games, very impressive to start the field.
And 30-plus points 4 out of the last 5 games. Right. So it's a team that's finding themselves offensively, and I think that they know that they might have to live with James Stewart for a while at the running back position. It seems like Mark Brunell is now over whatever injury problems he's had. He's found Jimmy Smith as a go-to guy in this offense, and the offensive line speaks for itself. And defensively, the #1 defense in football. But I think the team to watch as well is the Titans. The Titans have an outstanding defense. They have a premier player in Javon Curse, and offensively, and I don't know how many people know this, Ed George is getting stronger, and the numbers get better this year as the season is going on, and that's something that hasn't happened in the past for him.
As you mentioned, 7 more sacks for the defense of the Tennessee Titans. Brunell, a 300-yard day. Smith and McCardell both had 100 yards. Brad Johnson and the Skins, with it better to be lucky than good sometimes against the Eagles. Kerry Collins to start for the Giants.
Mom, Dad, a 37-year-old that lives at home should pay rent.
That's great, Mark.
But I want airline miles or points.
I don't understand.
My rent would earn me airline miles.
On to the NFC East, where Dallas has won on Thanksgiving. Washington lost to Andy Reid's Eagles 2 weeks ago. The Skins begin the day a half a game in front in first place. And look at this. Doink, doink, doink. Off the body of Steven Alexander. It's a routine Brad Johnson to Mike Sellers touchdown pass, right? 10-0 Skins. Donovan McNabb on 4th and 1 in the 3rd quarter, down 17-3, gets a first down. The swing to Deuce Staley on a 4th and 3 for a first down. 3rd and 1 from the Redskins 3. McNabb rolling to Luther Broughton, 17-10, an 18-play, 91-yard drive for the Eagles, and the stuff by Broughton brings them to within a touchdown, 17-10. 2 possessions later, under 5 minutes to go. McNabb looking to make this play for a 27-yard gain. 3rd and 6. McNabb. He's feeling it, Tom. He looks for Broughton.
Well, you can see him getting more comfortable in the pocket as well as learning when to use that athleticism that he has.
3 plays later on 3rd and 2. Complete to Broughton. He bends Darrell Green's face mask. Another 91-yard drive, and we're tied at 17. Boy, what a change we've seen in the Eagles. You can see them grow up overnight. On the ensuing kick by David Greenacres, he looks more like Ava Gabor with that kick. He kicks it to Brian Mitchell, only to the 20. Are you kidding me? He goes all the way to the 35. Next play from scrimmage. Mitchell, 14 yards. We're past the 2-minute warning. 5 seconds left. Brett Conway for the win. Look at the fan. Yeah, we're getting... Oh, he missed. He was Tim Conway. No good. 28 yards. We're going to overtime. But the Skins win the toss. This time the kick is to James Thrash. Special teams killed the Eagles.
Well, they didn't learn very much in that period between regulation and overtime.
It's awful. First play from scrimmage on a big return by Thrash. Play action, Brad Johnson to Albert Connell. 20 yards inside the 30. The Eagles on third down. Oh, my goodness, it's a bot. That's why you try it on third down. If you don't attempt the kick and you recover the fumble, you get to try kick on fourth down. Brent Conway, good. The Eagles did everything. They came back, but they just handed the game back to the Skins in overtime. Redskins win it 20-17. But, hey, Washington now back in control, 7-4 in the division.
And Donovan McNabb getting better, as we said.
The Eagles growing up, and in a year, these lessons will be put to good use. Meanwhile, Cardinals, Giants. Second quarter, Kerry Collins gets the start for Jim Prosso, and Kerry can look like this. Beautiful pass to Ike Hilliard, and 2 plays later, Collins scores. 7-3, G-Man. Cardinals next possession, Dave Brown, who started 53 games for the Giants from 94 to 97. He underthrows Adrian Morrell. Joe Torre appreciates good defense, and so it's 7-6. Jake Plummer, first action in 6 weeks. Here come the Cardinals. Plummer to Frank Sanders, 14 yards, first down. 3 plays later from the 2, Plummer. This is what he can do, create time and space. Look at the play by Rob Moore to give the Cards a 13-10 lead.
Well, good throw by Jake the Snake, and Rob Moore, what a great job here of taking the ball from Felipe Sparks. Felipe made a good play on the ball. You just get a better play by Rob Moore.
And watch Simeon Rice at the bottom of your screen. He lined up like a sprinter in the 4x100, forces Collins to fumble, and he recovers it himself. Arizona's got some great defensive players. That's why they made the playoffs last year. Collins intercepted by Eric Swan from
the Bay State Titans.
Look at the big guy, Rambo. It's a touchdown. Arizona goes into the Meadowlands, where they were 1-15 in their last 16 trips. They beat the Giants 34-24, the first sweep for the Giants since '79, since they were the St. Louis Cardinals. And with Jake Plummer, Tom, at 5-6, they have new life. They've won 3 in a row.
Yeah, and think about the other quarterback, Kerry Collins. He got worse as the game went on, and he's got to trouble his coach.
The Giants fall to 5-6 as well. When we return, the Rams. Is there anything they can't do? Drew Bledsoe in Buffalo. He's had his way with it. Speaking of going strong, the St. Louis Rams have just gone 5-0 at home this year, and Mike Ditka did not have Ricky Williams for the Saints. After a 4-game suspension back a week ago was Tony Horn of Horn, who's returned 2 touchdowns. What I'm trying to say is he has 2 touchdowns this year. That's a 64-yard return. You get the point. 3 plays later, Kurt Warner, Torrey Holt, inside the pylon. The only thing that could stop him is this cord. 25-yard touchdown, 7-0, the Rams. Next possession, Warner under pressure. Willie Whitehead, did he not get the message from this show or the league? Stop it! You're going to get the fine soon enough. After 3 field goals gives the Saints a 9-7 lead. Then Horn gets going again, Tom.
Well, and look at the little wall that he has. He's going to find his block. Does a great job of setting up blocks right there and getting to the sideline and getting the ball well out toward midfield.
And then they can do such smooth work with Warner and Falk.
Well, you saw the nice play fake there off the run action, goes downfield. A nice job of hitting Isaac Bruce on the sideline. And again, the play action pass to them is just tremendous.
And look at the pump fake. That's an old-fashioned play, which Marshall Falk scores a touchdown.
Statue of Liberty. They used to run it in my day.
So it's 22-12. Dick Vermeil's squad struggled with the Saints, but here they go. Now 29-12. Warner, Torrey Holt. He's got 29 TD passes in 11 games. And the Rams. You know, a year ago, Dick Vermeil, Jim Hannafin, Frank Gans, Mike Wyatt, Lynn Stiles, a couple guys who aren't with him this year. Well, the game had passed them by. Oh, I don't think so. Rams 43, Saints 12. They're 9-2. Tommy at home. They've won by 17, 28, 22, 31, 25, and what, 31?
Yeah, and you see the great balance between the throwing of Kurt Warner and the running of Marshall Falk.
In the AFC East, there is no ground for a stumble, and both the Patriots and the Bills lost last week, which gave them each 4 losses. A loss by either team today would give them 5 losses, forget the division, and maybe forget the playoffs. If you've watched this show for 13 years, we're going to drum it into your head one more time. A reminder today that no one circles the wagons. Look at that. Like the Buffalo Bills. Look at our own counter. That's a good one. Peter Noon in the director's chair inventing a wagon. Bruce Smith, pressure up the middle. Drew Bledsoe was done well against Buffalo, sacked by Sam Rogers and Gabe Northern. Terry Glenn, speeding ticket, late to practice during the week, benched the first quarter by Pete Carroll, wouldn't play till the second quarter. Meanwhile, Bledsoe into the wind in the second quarter. It's underthrown and picked off by Ken Urban. 9th pick against Bledsoe last 3 games. Late in the second, Bills still steamrolling Bledsoe. He avoids Rogers. You can't avoid Mount Washington. From Louisville, 2 plays later, 4-man rush. Time? No. Bill Hansen makes the sack. 4 first-half sacks for the Bills. 1:11 left in the half. Doug Flutie. Eric Moles, wide open, 54 yards, 10-0 Bills. What happened to Steve Israel? Was he getting ready for Hanukkah?
Well, you take a look at Israel up and bump and run. He just tries to get on the side of Moles here and just for some reason just falls down, leaves Moles wide open for a touchdown.
Now, Sam Gash, the former Patriot, there's nothing he would like more than to stick it to his ex-team. Look at Andy Katzenmoyer, looks more like Mousenmoyer. Touchdown, Sam Gash, 31 yards.
Hard tackle for Katzenmoyer to miss. You see he's got his head out in front. He almost overran the play, then ended up grabbing at Gash on his way down the sideline.
Later in the third, the Patriots in the red zone, but Kevin Falk, oh, he coughs it up. Sam Rogers falls on it for Buffalo, so New England had a chance to get back in the game, but they blow the opportunity. Then it's young Marcellus Wiley from Columbia. The IB leaguer steps in. 6th sack of the game for Buffalo. Pete Carroll's Patriots still have that Parcells hangover, and they lose it by the count of 17-7. New England now at 6-5 is frankly a team that is spinning out of control and maybe spinning out of the playoffs.
Well, it's very difficult to figure out where the Patriots lost this game. I thought they did a great job of 2 things. They ran the ball more than you expect, and they stopped the run of the Bills better than you'd expect. But, of course, they had 101 yards on 8 penalties, and they had 6 sacks for 31 yards. So you add up that 132 yards of lost yardage. I think that's where they had the problem today.
And the Bills are now 8-4 with the bye next week. They're sitting not pretty for the division, but they're right back in the thick of everything. They can still win the division. And by the way, they become just the 6th team to win 100 games in any decade. Congratulations to them. Of course, no team did it before the 70s. So they didn't play as many games, but congratulations to them. They're with some of the great teams of all time. As we go inside the numbers, Drew Bledsoe, last 3 games, all losses. He's only picked once today, but he was sacked 6 times. He's been sacked 14 times in the 3 losses. The percentage below 50%. They're not giving him a lot of help. And as a result, the Pats are 6-5.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official card of the NFL. Log on to ESPN.com for more Inside the Numbers.
When we return, we stay in the AFC East. Can the Jets get back in it, or will the Colts keep on trucking? And the Bucs and Seahawks, a Super Bowl preview? The Jets suddenly in it, maybe, at the 8-2 Indianapolis Colts. Bill Parcells' team lost by a field goal to the Colts earlier this year. Boy, the Colts trailing 6-0 had a couple of good drives first half. Peyton Manning, play action to Marvin Harrison, then the dump to the other triplet, Edgerrin James. And look at the youngster take it all the way down to the 2. Now, on 1st and goal, watch the play Manning makes. Pump fake, then nobody open, then near the sidelines, back across the body to Marcus Pollard, Tom, 7-6.
That's a very difficult throw for any quarterback to make, but Peyton Manning to make it this year early in his career, just phenomenal.
Now, another good drive ends when Jason Wiltz, who sealed the Bills' fate last week, has his 2nd interception in 2 weeks. He's a lineman.
Well, look at the awareness there. He gets his hand up, and I'm more impressed with the idea that he stayed in the end zone right there. He kneeled down.
So, Manning in the 3rd quarter to James, a pickup of 14 yards. But Jets playing good defense again. Ray Slim Mickens on a miscue by Manning, and the drive is stopped. 10-6 Indy 4th quarter. Another long drive inside the red zone. And it's Ernie Logan with a sack. Another big stand for the Jets keeps him in it. Just a field goal, 13-6. On 4th and 7, 3.5 to go. Ray Lucas to Curtis, my favorite Mike. First down. After holding penalty, the Jets make 3rd and 19. Lucas. Buying time. Look at the blocks. 1, 2, 3. Colts go down. Can he find Dedrick Ward? No, he cannot. Double coverage, so good job by the Colts back there. Timeout. 4th down. Lucas, end zone. Dwayne Cribbett. Oh! Oh! In and out of his hands. Cribbett knew it was a tough catch, but one he would like to have another chance at. And the Colts have swept the Jets. 13-6, they win it, despite the fact that, boy, 13 points for the Colts, Tom. Jets good D.
Yeah, but we talked about the Colts learning how to win close games. I think they officially now know how to do it. They didn't get the 100 yards from James. They didn't get the great game from Manning. They just learned how to win the game.
The Colts have won 7 straight. They have a 1-game lead over Miami, who they play at next week. When we return, Chiefs and Raiders renew hostilities. And would the Tampa Bay defense throw a log wrench into the Seattle Express? Is there a rivalry better than this one? Not many. Chiefs, Raiders. The Chiefs are 17-2, including playoffs against the Raiders in the 90s. Rich Gannon was a Chief, now a Raider. Rich Gannon to John Ritchie all night long for 17 yards. 1st and 10, the Raiders from the 16. No, wait a minute, Tom. Ricky Dudley's catching balls? Touchdown, 16 yards, 13-10. Why was he so open?
Well, look at the pump fake right there by Gannon. Now let's take a look at the other end of the play. There's the safety, Jerome Woods. He's looking right at Gannon's eyes, pulls him out of the middle of the field to open up things for Dudley right underneath the goalpost.
Now, Gannon, play action. 3rd quarter of the game tied at 13. Oh, it's Chris Dishman, the veteran. Look at him go. He's got a convoy. 48 yards. Chiefs lead 20-13 on Dishman's TD. Still 3rd, tied at 20, under 4 to go, about 4 minutes to go. Elvis Gerback pricked off by Greg Beekers. And sets up a touchdown for the Raiders. It's 27-20. Late 3rd, Gerback. All shook up through the hands of Tony Gonzalez. Charles Woodson, he scores. What a wild game. 15 yards, 34-20 Oakland. Now with the score 34-27, Gannon to Derek Walker. It's a fumble, and Chris Dishman, Johnny on the spot, could go all the way. We're tied at 34. Would John Gruden challenge the fumble call?
Yeah, he would, and Jerome Woods right there, you can see the ball is clearly out. He came underneath the arm and knocked it out, so Coach Gruden's going to lose that challenge.
4th quarter, 3:21 to go, tied at 34. Michael Kuma, usted. No hablo. Misses a 44-yard field goal for the Raiders to take the lead, and so we stay tied. You know what's going to happen. It always happens. The Raiders just succumb to the Chiefs. Gerback to Tony Gonzalez. Stoyanovich hoping he gets a chance. Tony Richardson, 4 yards, sets it up. The coaches, Gunther Cunningham, John Gruden, Sebats with Stoyanovich. 45-yard field goal. Good! The Raiders are the best team in football that plays just well enough to lose. Overtime to Denver. Close to Seattle. Done in by Favre and Lambeau, but they're 5-6. The Chiefs snap a losing streak. They win it 37-34, and at 6-5, they're alive.
And great to see a game with the 2 tight ends so involved in the area of receiving the ball.
We haven't seen that a lot this year in the NFL. 2 teams I think could be in the Super Bowl. Don't laugh, Tom. John Kitten and the Seahawks at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Bucs bring some defense. That's Derek Brooks.
Well, Derek Brooks with that first piece of pressure. Then here comes John Lynch. So this is one of the few times we've seen Kitten early on in the game with a lot of guys in his face, not able to throw the ball downfield clearly.
Then in the 2nd quarter in a 3-3 game, Kitten, who's only thrown 6 picks all year. What a nice play by Derek Brooks. ESPN's Derek Brooks returns it to the 25. 3rd down for Trent Dilfer. Riedel Anthony. Oh, man, he gets some stick-em. Talk to Lester Hayes or something.
Well,
right,
you just see that he doesn't look the ball into his hands. Boom, he just lets it go right through. You got to help your quarterback.
Dramatica with a field goal at 6-3. Philip Daniels going to chase Trent Dilfer out of the pocket. He's going to be sacked. Oh, and he's hurt. As it turns out, a broken right clavicle for Dilfer, out 4 to 8 weeks. Here's the play. Shoulder drilled into the turf. Wow, that hurts. And with Eric Zier not ready, Sean King is going to play. So the defense says, we'll take it upon ourselves. Al Singleton, pass deflected by Sapp. He makes the pick. 3 interceptions. 6-3 game still in the 4th. Here's the youngster. Second-round pick from Tulane, Sean King to Mike Allstock. You're in good hands down to the 8, 24 yards. King. Here's a tight end, Patrick Hape. It's a touchdown, 13-3. Dilfer raises his good arm. First NFL touchdown pass for Sean King, who Tony Dungy really likes. Warren Sapp strips Kitna, recovers the fumble. This is a Sapp sack. Look at Warren. Hey, the Buccaneers defense, let me tell you something. They came into this game -12 and plus-minus. Seattle came in +10. But 6 turnovers, 5 of them picks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at 7-4, along with Detroit and Minnesota. So they're in first place, and they have a winning streak for themselves. Very impressive win by that defense.
Well, over the course of the season, I think the defense has been slightly inconsistent. We spoke on this morning's countdown show to the fact that they had 28 sacks going into this game. 14 of them had taken place in 2 of those football games, so they need to get more consistent in rushing the passer, and love what you saw by Warren Sapp at the end of that game. But Sean King, anyone who watched him in college, very poised young man who, if he does the things that he was able to do in college, he will give them a chance to win games because he'll give them some balance.
So not knowing about Zaire, but the next game is Minnesota at Tampa Bay on Monday night. We've been waiting for that game for 6 or 7 weeks, and you know what? The NFC North is back. That's a division that has a lot of playoff teams. Weren't sure for a while, but they are back. The Bucs have won 4 in a row, snapping Seattle's 5-game winning streak. First time they've ever beaten Seattle. Game balls coming up when Tommy and I return on Primetime.
Most Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
You know what? I'm going to give my game ball, Tommy, to one of the old-timers, Chris Dishman. Touchdown on a pick, touchdown on a fumble. The Chiefs go back above 500, beating their A8.
And I'm going to give mine to Chris Carter. Over a 6-game period, he's caught at least 1 touchdown. Over that same period, he's caught 10. He is the engine that drives the Vikings.
Monday Night Football. Mike and the gang, Tommy, Sterling, get you set for the Packers at the Niners. Boy, last year, that was the game of the year, that playoff game. How far have the Niners fallen? Will I have to watch that show? Well, I will watch the game. It's Monday at 9 on ABC, the Packers and the 49ers. Well, couple divisions, very, very... Yes. The Indianapolis Colts keep running along, and the NFC North is very interesting, Tom.
Yeah, and then you got the Rams and the Jaguars, who seem to be putting themselves in a position for a possible home field.
For Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. NFC West football coming up.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina, where tonight, Chris Chandler and the Atlanta Falcons...
For Brian, I'm Bill. See ya.
Now, how do you know if I have the mic on or not? It just looks like that. We're all excited. It's December. It's Sunday. There are big games galore this weekend, including a huge one between the Colts and the Dolphins. We got a big one coming up after prime time, so you don't want to miss this. It's Lucky Week 13 on NFL Prime Time. The Kickstart Colts try to edge their way to 8 in a row, while the Fish look to Dan the Man for yet another comeback. It's been 18 straight for the Skins over the Lions. Can Washington's winning way end today? The Rolling Rams look to wrap up the West in Carolina. Who'll win the battle in New York? Will Tennessee prove to be Titans and slip by Baltimore? Can Chicago bear the pain of Favre and the Pack? And who is running up the score in the Bengals-Niners game? NFL Prime Time. Next. Again, everybody, I'm Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. Lucky week number 13 in NFL Primetime. Tommy, is a weekend in which there are 4 games involving teams, both teams over 500, and we really started to figure some of this out.
Well, I think we start figuring out these divisions. Got a division champion today. We'll leave that a mystery as we get into the show.
That big a mystery with the way they've been playing, but you can't give it all away. Now, this one was going to be pretty easy. The Tennessee Titans at 9-2, just holding serve. Do they have another chance at front-running Jacksonville in the AFC Central? The Baltimore Ravens, good defense, but just not making it happen even though they were at home. So Tennessee going into Baltimore, this was going to be one of the easy ones on the day. That's why they play the game. Here we go from PSI Net Stadium, a.k.a. the Big Crab Cake. Tony Bank to Patrick Johnson makes a readjust against 2 defenders, and even though He leaves the game with a calf injury, and he scores on one leg. 76 yards. The Ravens quote a 7-3 lead. Can you imagine during Hanukkah, Priest Holmes is going to have a 100-yard day? Light the candles for the Priest. What a great run. Whoop! And then he drags Titans inside the 10. A 72-yard run, the longest of his career, sets up a field goal, 17-14, Ravens at the half. And Tommy, well, how do you stop Tennessee?
Watch Cornell Brown at the bottom of the screen. A great job of containing Steve McNair. Now, it's a great athlete. Here he tries to escape up the middle through the pocket. And Ray Lewis, one of the best middle linebackers in this game, bringing him down. Solid shot.
Next play, the Titans going for it on 4th and 3. Watch Kim Herring and Chris McAllister double cover Chris Sanders. No chance. The Ravens have held on downs and they would capitalize. Tony Banks looking as good as, well, frankly, he ever has. Steps up, 39-yard touchdown. Boy, he stepped up and felt the pressure of Kenny Holmes. And 34-14, the touchdown to Jermaine Lewis. 4 touchdown passes, career high. And then a bit of history. Rod Woodson could go all the way for the 9th time in his career with an interception for a touchdown, tying Ken Houston for #1 all-time in the NFL. The Ravens just lambasted the Tennessee Titans 41-14. And Tom, as we look at numbers in this game, it's certainly not very impressive for Eddie George. I mean, here's a Tennessee team that has beaten Jacksonville. They've beaten St. Louis. They lose to San Francisco. They get blown out today. So, a great record, and any team can have a bad day, but I think real puzzling for Jeff Fisher the way his club plays.
Well, I think as we've looked at the Titans, they've been a team with some inconsistencies throughout the season. They are a team that of late has lived off the running game. Ed George with his 32 yards today, not enough. Steve McNair sacked 5 times, as good an athlete as he is. And Javon Curse on the defensive side of the ball, and we're talking about a defense that has twice as many sacks from their defensive line as they had last year. They only got 1 today, so Tony Banks with the big day. So I think that certainly the Titans have a lot of things to straighten out, and give the Ravens credit for being one of those teams that's playing hard even though they have nothing to play for.
Yes, and this is the time of the year when not all those teams do that. We'll see the Titans Thursday night on ESPN against the Ravens when we return. Saints-Falcons. One thing the Falcons can still do is beat the Saints. And 49ers-Bengals, they played in Super Bowls, and they played in this. Falcons, 2-9 each. A Ray Buchanan from
Louisville
has handed out roses to the officials before the game. He says, I got 9 penalties. Maybe this will help. It was cute. And I'll tell you what, he came out smelling roses later. Play action, Chris Chandler. Slow start, warming up. They got this guy, Tommy, Tim Dwight, playing hard despite the 2-9 record, 48 yards, 21-6 Atlanta. Danny Werfel playing at quarterback today with the Saints. He's picked off by Ray Buchanan from
Louisville.
Now, Tom, what's the team's record?
2-9.
Go. Louisville, guys. 28-6 Falcons in the 3rd quarter. Chandler throws long. It's picked up by Ashley Ambrose. Now, Tom, what's the Saints' record?
2-9.
What? Come on,
I know.
Come on. Come on now. I mean, you might as well be excited. Nice play and all. Danny Werfel picked off by Ray Buchanan from
Louisville.
And he rose to the occasion. 52 yards. The pair of picks made the refs happy. Falcons go on now to have beaten the Saints 10 straight times. That's now the longest winning streak in the NFL, still intact. More on that in a moment as they roll them 35-12 to snap their own 3-game losing streak. 49ers and the Bengals. They played in Super Bowl 16. They played in Super Bowl 23. And today they played for, well, they played for fun. That's what they played for. Actually, this is one of the more entertaining games. Even on the short passes, Jeff Blake lobs it out of the screen. Gets both feet down as your neighbor Carl Pickens before Ramos McDonald, who didn't have the ball, couldn't get him at 17-7. Blake to Darnay Scott. Ken Norton Jr., Darnell Walker, I don't think so. Gone. 58 yards, 27-10, the Bungles at the half. In the 3rd quarter, these are the 49ers, at least for a little while. Jeff Garcia, touchdown to Jerry Rice. Every 11 years, Rice, a huge game against the Bengals, like in that Super Bowl. He had big numbers today. So did Garcia. For Rice, beats Rodney Heathbar. 100-yard game for Jerry, his first of the year, 30-24. The Bengals, Niners within 6. But Blake to Corey Dillon. What about this read, Tom?
Well, Corey Dillon, and look at nobody to block for the guy that's out in front.
Second touchdown of the day for Dillon, who had a 100-yard day. And then Garcia across the middle to J.J. Stokes. That's 11 yards. Extra point missed. It's 37-30. Pump fake play. Ramos McDonald he doesn't have the coverage. Carl Pickens has the ball. Bengals lead it 44-30. Niners trying to get in it. Fourth down. Garcia to Stokes. A little low. And does this shot say it all? Bill Walsh, who was tutored on the staff of Paul Brown a long while ago in Cincinnati. And, of course, Bill is a Hall of Famer. 44-30. The Bengals win it. Tommy, the 1,018 yards, the most in 7 years in a non-overtime game. Garcia throwing for over 400 yards. But yowza.
Well, great numbers for everybody offensively, but look at the penalties. Bengals 2 for 10 yards, San Francisco 9 for 82. Who would have thought that the Bengals would be more disciplined than the San Francisco 49ers?
Billy Idol sang it. Catch my fall. When we return, nobody can catch the Rams. The Panthers trying to stay alive in the division. Jets, Giants, Battle of New York. They've only played 8 times in the regular season going into today, and the Jets and Giants had, well, war of the mouth internally. Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Strahan, each stirring their own locker room. But who was stirring today? Kerry Collins. Oh, those tricky Giants. Watch Collins on the lead after David Patton gets the ball, Tom. Boom. Look at Collins.
Yeah, good block on Marcus.
Coleman. Giants next play. They said rookie Joe Montgomery would be a workhorse. He was. 4-yard touchdown, 10-0.
Yeah, and Curtis Martin, a tough day running the football. There you see Michael Strahan coming from the bottom of the screen. On the other hand, Giants, a tremendous day running the football. So they reversed roles in the running game. Here's Joe Montgomery, does a great job reversing field, going down and getting about 10 yards on a carry.
Second quarter, it's already 17. Well, you see with the score, 17-0. And the pump fake by Ray Lucas, a pretty catch by Keyshawn Johnson. They took a look at it, but it's a touchdown. Keyshawn had 10 catches for 98. Our friend Jason Sehorn, broken left fibula, obviously gone for the year. No pun intended. A tough break. You hate to see that, but that's about all that went wrong for the Giants. Collins, the floater to well-dressed Amani Toomer. 16-play drive, 34-7. Now Wayne Corbett, criticized by Keyshawn. He came to play despite the crunch by Sam Garnes. Corbett hold on to it, but in the end it was Kerry Collins to Amani Toomer. 3 times a sharp-dressed man. Amani Toomer was, dare we say, ZZ Tops. 181 yards. And there's Bill. I used to coach this team. And what about a little redemption for Jim Fossil after Strahan criticized him and the way he dealt with Armstead, etc. 41-28. The Giants have now evened their mark at 6-6. And with the way things stack up, they're in it. Not hard to figure out what happened here, Tom.
Yeah, Jim Fossil, the 45 carries, 188 yards, 38 times he gave the ball to Joe Montgomery. That's only the second time that a Giants running back has carried the ball more than 20 times this year. And 12 for 15 for the New York Jets. Unbelievable.
The man that knew about these Giant-Jet games, Allie Sherman, used to say, boy, the equipment man tripping over a trunk averaged more than the Jets did. At any rate, St. Louis, nice guys do finish first. At 62 years of age, Dick Vermeil knew nothing. At 63 years of age, he's a genius. Rams 34, Panthers 21.
Warner and Marshall Faulk leading that offense. The guy has thrown more touchdowns than anybody in the rich history of the Rams.
Faulk almost had 200 yards combined rushing, receiving. Congratulations to the Rams. We know they're playoff bound. They won home field. Redskins, Lions battle of first place teams. Packers, Bears, renewal of the oldest rivalry in... For the 159th time, the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Bears looking for their first 10-0 second quarter. Favre goes to work to Bill Schrader. 12-yard play, fumbles it out of bounds, Packer ball. DeMond Parker, remember the name. Levin's hurt, 5th-round rookie from Oklahoma. Tommy, fresh legs in December. What a concept. 3 plays later, 3rd and 5. Favre to Schrader. Finally, somebody wearing number 84 for Green Bay does something well. And it's 10-7 Bears. Here comes Favre, scrambling. Antonio Freeman takes the lick, but it's a 17-yard pickup, sets up a Henderson touchdown. 14-10, the Packers. Look at the throw by
Vintage Brett Favre steps up through the pocket. Look at him back out of the throw and make the nice touch flip to Antonio Freeman.
Later in the second quarter, big play of the game. Todd Sauerbrunn drops it, fumbles it. Keith McKenzie, one of the McKenzie brothers. 21-10, the Packers right before halftime, and Sauerbrunn was sauerkraut.
Well, McKenzie got the recovery, but look at Keith Crawford actually scare the ball out of Sauerbrunn's hands.
Play by the special teams, a big lead at the half of the Packers, and Steve Ortmeyer, the venerable one. Special teams coach gets a hug from quarterback Favre. As for Damon Parker, you think he wasn't excited to get in the end zone twice? This is his first NFL touchdown. He had 113 yards in hot feet. Woo! And very much a factor, Tommy. And we said fresh legs in week 13. Now the Packers have more offensive options.
Damon Parker, the 19 carries for 113 yards. The most impressive part of it got stronger as the game went on, something they're going to look for as the season comes to a halt.
Packers rush for almost 200 yards. Two first-place teams, 7-4 Washington at 7-4 Detroit. Brad Johnson in a recurring theme under pressure. And he's dragged down as he throws it. Wait a minute, it's in the hands of Larry Self-centered. Out of Mark Carrier. First they said it complete. Then they said, wait a minute, it's complete.
Great job of the officials getting it right. Mark Carrier kept the ball up long enough for centers to come through and make the grab. Then they went for the review.
Dorf challenged it, but they called the catch, but the whistle blew it dead. No touchdown. It ended up in a field goal. Meanwhile, number 91, Robert Porcher with the pressure. Look at the interception by Ron Rice that was harder than you saw right there.
Well, watch right here. Chris Claiborne tips the ball, and Ron Rice, what a great grab. You see him focus his eyes on the ball as he makes the great one-hand grab of the INT.
Score of threes midway second quarter. James Thrash thrashes the Lions. Only Hansen has a shot, and it's no shot. Could go all the way. 95 yards, 10-3, Redskins.
But this play begins about 90 yards away. Watch the right-hand side of the screen. The outside guy aways a K. He has contained. He ran all the way to the opposite hash and let the return man get outside to the sideline.
Wayzake was way out of the play. Gus Farrat the pump and throws it to Herman Moore. Back in there, and we're tied at 10. Farrat loving this against his old team.
Champ Bailey, his eyes in the backfield. Herman Moore on the shoot, what we call the shooting up, going toward the sideline, turning it to the back of the end zone.
Monday night, Desmond Howard was really a non-factor and a non-player for the Packers. 6 yards, the Lions had the lead 17-10. It's 23-17 now, fourth quarter. Again, pressure Detroit. Look at Porcher, Tommy. He's all over the place. It's a fumble out of Westbrook's hands. Chris Claiborne has it for Detroit, setting up a field goal. 26-17. James Jones, sack with a hit. Luther Ellis salts it away. For the first time, after 18 straight losses, for the first time since 1965, when Milt Plum was quarterback, Alex Karras and Roger Brown were defensive tackles. Wayne Walker, Joe Schmidt were linebackers. George Plimpton on the team. Detroit has beaten the Redskins, and they go to 8-4 as the Lions defense impressive.
Yeah, and they got all that pressure on on Johnson because Stephen Davis only got 51 yards.
Pressure indeed. 5 sacks for Detroit. They have a big win. They know they're going to be in first place in the Norris, no matter what happens Monday night. Big game between the Colts and Dolphins. They had a great game in Week 5 where they duplicated in Miami. Here's the D win for the 6-5 Pats against the 6-5 boys. 9-2 Indianapolis at 8-3 Miami in a battle for first place in the AFCs. What a game this was. Tied at 3 first quarter. Look at the rookie Edgerrin James, the cutback right there on Brock Marriott. It's a 41-yard scamper, 10-3 Colts.
Yeah, good run, great
running for the Dolphins. Jeff Burris among those that pulls it free. Now he has a chance to make it happen. He doesn't. It's Chad Cota. I'm going to take my Cota. I'm going to take my Cota Crow. I'm going to take my Cota Crow away. They haven't done that for like several years. Apologies to Paul Simon. 17-3 in the touchdown by Chad Cota. No apologies here made by Edgerrin James. Sean Wooden, Patrick Surtain, get out. Sets up a 1-yard touchdown run, 24-10 Colts at the half. But here comes Sam Madison. First minute, third quarter, touchdown. Interception to 24. and welcome to the final NFL Primetime before Santa comes down the chimney. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, along with Tom Jackson, and let us be among the first, I think, to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And, Tom, holidays happy for a couple teams getting into the playoffs, a couple teams clinching divisions that haven't done that for a long time, but some others had a chance to do things, did not.
Well, I think we understand that the teams at the very top are very, very good. We're having a hard time figuring out who's that second-level group that we're going to be in the playoffs.
7-7 in the NFC all of a sudden looks like, hey, deck the halls a little bit here. Well, one of the oldest rivalries in the NFL is Lions and Bears. Oh, my. They played on Thanksgiving to a tough game. And after a bye, the Chicago Bears have a chance to pay back to the Detroit Lions. And early on, Gus Frerotte, who was starting, was not good. Father Flanagan picks one off. Terry Cousin picks one off. And Frerotte goes deep this time, looking for Johnny's Morton. Chris Hudson picks one off. 3 picks in the first half for Dick Duran's defense. With the score 3-0 Detroit in the second quarter, Cade McNown will start the last 3 games for Chicago. He is hooked up with Marcus Robinson for 3 long touchdowns in his previous starts. McNown a screen to Robinson, cuckoo Kachu for 12 yards, and then McNown the little inside screen to Bobby Ingram. Touchdown, 7-3 the Bears. Late in the second quarter, McNown to Bobby Ingram makes a nice comeback, had 30 yards on the play, and then Marcus Robinson, get used to that. 14-3 Bears. McNown 12 of 13, 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. With the score 14-3 Bears. Greg Hill, it's a fumble. Those funny Lions. Van Tuene falls on it. Bears possession. McNown to Marcus Robinson. 36 yards between defenders. They've hooked up twice. It's 21-3 Chicago. Charlie Batch, who's been shelved with the bad thumb. He comes in, but he's shelved by Roosevelt Colvin. And then, watch this play. And Tommy, the pass by McNown, the footwork. Robinson, what, 6'4". What a target, his 3rd touchdown.
Great use of his height. Watch the little subtle move right there, the little shove right there in the back. Great job of using his hands. And then what an outstanding move to keep his feet in, Boone.
11 catches, 3 touchdowns for Robinson. The Bears, I know they're going to end up probably in last place in the NFC North. That the Chicago Bears beat the Lions by the count of 28-10. And Tommy, next year, if they do finish last, it'll be an impressive last, if you will. A 5th-place schedule on Cade McNown looking good. Chicago, for a team that's, quote, not in the playoff picture, is about, they're the first team you want to make a note on for next year. Do you agree?
Well, I think you hit the key. They found their quarterback in Cade McNown, a guy who threw for over 300 yards today. They have settled on him for the rest of the year. Curtis Enis will be improved as we see him next year. So this is a team that's found a solid receiver in Marcus Robinson. They also have Curtis Conway. You look to the Detroit Lions. Gus Frerotte really struggling. Charlie Batch probably gets his job back. He won't have the balance of a running attack. It's going to be very interesting to watch this team go down the stretch. And we've talked all season. No Barry Sanders, I think really now is where it starts to show up. December, you don't have him running the football.
Detroit hoping the holiday's good to them. They win at home on Thanksgiving. They have a home game against Denver on Christmas. Well, maybe the holidays can get them back going. As we go inside the numbers, Marcus Robinson, one-time 4th-round draft pick from South Carolina. And I tell you what, the first part of the season, he really didn't make his presence felt. But look how he's come on, and he and McNown have a thing going. Last 10 games, 61 catches for over 1,100 yards. So that's 6 catches for over 100 a game on average, and almost a touchdown a game. Remember him, remember the Bears, because here they come. When we return. The Ravens, could they be creeping back into playoff consideration? Well, maybe. Second quarter, Tony Banks at home against New Orleans. Priest Holmes just before Christmas. You know, that's a magical hookup. And although he penalized for taking his helmet off, it's like the Ravens, they don't need the yards. They're up 10-0. Billy Joe Tolliver, Wilmot Perry, Tony Siragusa. Look at how small the numbers look on Siragusa's uniform. Saints ran for 11 yards in the game without Rick. Last week, these guys were money. Tony Banks to the missile. Cadre Ishmael, more signals from Mars. 47 yards. 24-0 Ravens. What is going on? Johnny Unitas from Louisville. He appreciates good passing. Danny Werfel, awful. Picked off by Corey Harris. Harris weaves, that put the ball down, get in the end zone, touchdown. Now look at this. Is it like a grenade here going off for the Ravens? This is the ground zero move. I'm sure they, wait a minute, what? And
they are the bomb.
They are the bomb. Ravens beat the Saints handily 31-8, and all of a sudden, Tony Banks, Tom, threw for 298 yards despite several picks. I guess Brian Billick found a guy that will listen and will excel.
Well, in your Who's Hot segment this morning on Sunday Countdown, Tony Banks was hot. He's still hot.
Well, and the Ravens, all of a sudden, are at 7-7. We return. The New England Patriots still alive because Buffalo and Miami lost last week. Get a feeling in the opening kickoff against the Philadelphia Eagles is fumble by Tony Simmons when he collides with his teammate and is recovered by Mark Coble. You had a feeling it's going to be this sort of day for New England. Drew Bledsoe picked by Jeremiah Trotter. Trotter trots it to the 50-yard line. 31-yard return. First play after the INT for those opportunistic Eagles who give them credit. Despite their record, Tom, they've played hard the last 6-7 weeks. Coy Detmer, third-string quarterback to Torrance Small. 10-0 Eagles.
And watch Larry Wiggum here coming from the left side. He's going to block Sean Lendetta's punt right there. He sees the ball still on the ground, but watch his reaction right there. Mike Caldwell picks the ball up, starts to run it back downfield. While Larry Wiggum celebrates, Caldwell goes and gets a first down.
Still second quarter. Now watch this. Bledsoe under pressure. It's a fumble. It's going backwards. They're on the 7, and they get, what, like a 43-yard field goal out of that. Bledsoe airs it out. What? Al Harris. He picks it up. Now watch what happens. First of all, his socks are higher than Rusty Stops. Second of all, look at him go. He's got a convoy. It's a fumble. But the Eagles still have the ball. My goodness. At the 16. First play after the interception. Detmer. Torrance Small. One hand grab. 17-6 at the half. Not a Christmas carol for Pete. 24-9 Philly in the fourth. And does this sum it up? Oh, those funny Patriots. Terry Glenn drops it. 7 turnovers in the game for the New England Patriots, who are spanked by a third-string quarterback, a team that was 3-11 going in, and this is a Patriot team that theoretically had a shot at the playoffs. Their record is now the same as the Ravens at 7-7. Philadelphia wins 24-9. Meanwhile, also in the AFCs, Jimmy Johnson and the Dolphins have lost 3 in a row. At home against San Diego. Stanley Wilson, Pritchett. Yeah, they're inside the 4, Tom. You think they're going to get going here? Wow, second down. Certainly they're not going to do that. Third down, they're certainly going to get inside the end. I guess they're not going to do that. So Olinde Mare kicks a field goal, and that's all the Dolphins offense would do. Now, watch this. Chargers defense, 6-6, forces a big play. John Perella knocks the ball loose from Dan Marino. Ray Lee Johnson recovers from San Diego. Chargers for Mike Riley at the 4. Now, certainly, Tom, they're going to get in the end zone. But Natron Means loses a couple yards. But at second down, I mean, you know that the Chargers are going to get in the end zone because maybe not because Gardner with a sack. And then third down, Tom, you feel they're coming closer. Well, a little pressure, and, well, I think you get the picture here. No touchdowns, but John Carney's field goal made it 9-6, San Diego. With a score 9-9, 6 minutes left. Harbaugh. Scramble. Ball loose. Rich Owens with the hit. And the Dolphins have the football. The play, there's the peep show, 25 cents.
Well, Rich Owens makes the hit. You can see the ball comes loose. It's out of the control of Harbaugh immediately. Brock Marion makes the recovery. The officials got it exactly right.
They upheld the, they said the appeal by Mike Riley was no good. It was a good call by the officials. Mare hit his 37th field goal for the season. The most record, John Casey, that ties the record at 37 at 12-9 Dolphins. Harbaugh with time over the middle to Chris Penn. 15 seconds to go. Harbaugh, shot for the end zone. Penn makes a good effort, doesn't quite get it. So old automatic is John Connie. But at Miami Beach, John Connie, Sheila McRae, the home of the honeymooners. It's good night, everybody, but it's because he hit the left upright. And so the Dolphins, with 4 Mare field goals, beat the Chargers on 3 Carney field goals by the score of 12-9. Obviously, offense dismal. Chargers run for 26. Dolphins run for 53. Tommy,
The AFC is very competitive, and the Indianapolis Colts, we've yet to see today. They played a rousing game against Washington, but we're finding it right below, and Buffalo playing at night. Maybe Miami, New England, not all they were cracked up to be.
Well, I think we certainly see deficiencies with both of those football teams. Cannot protect their quarterback when you talk about the New England Patriots. Chris hit on the 7 turnovers. They also had 6 sacks of Drew Bledsoe to go with that, so it was a very balanced offensive attack in a negative way. Then you look at the Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino comes into the game knowing that he cannot turn the ball over. They would not tolerate it, so he's very careful with the football. Yes, he threw for over 250 yards, but he didn't throw the touchdowns. Maybe being a little bit too careful with the football. And he doesn't have the balance of a running attack to go with. He is dependent on his arm to win games.
Wilson Pritchett was waiting till the midnight hour.
Yes.
Can you imagine Dan Marino not wanting to throw interceptions so he doesn't get touchdowns?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But the Dolphins win, and that does make sense to Jimmy Johnson. Here we go to the AFC Central, where the Tennessee Titans of Jeff Fisher trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 1993. They're 6-0 at home this season, and, well, Chris Sanders over the Eugene Robinson comes for the hit, but oops, he knocked his own man down. It's been a downhill since the Super Bowl for one of our guys. 48 yards. Sanders, the touchdown for McNair. His first touchdown pass in 6 weeks. 7-0 to Titans. McNair to Frank Wycheck. And look at the H-back throw it to Isaac Bird, who flies in for a 61-yard score, 14-7 Tennessee.
And you saw the front end of that play. Frank Wycheck does a great job of selling the run, and Bird does a great job of selling the DBs that he is blocking and then flies by them. And what a nice, sweet spiral by Frank Wycheck.
Very nice. Third quarter, we've talked about how fast Javon Curse is. Watch this. Tony Graziani, bad snap. Forget it. Forget about it, Tony Graziani. With the sack, Curse breaks the NFL rookie record for sacks. He breaks it, as he shows you. He now has 13.5, Gil Mark 12.5, Leslie O'Neal, Simeon Rice. McNair, bootlegs. Now this he can do. Watch Joey Kent with the block right there. McNair, such a dangerous runner, down to the 3-yard line. Next play, 1st and goal. McNair, urged on by his coach. It's the naked bootleg. Touchdown. Tennessee, which struggled with Atlanta for a while, goes on to win by the count of 30-17 in a game in which Steve McNair, well, Tommy, Steve McNair, he threw a touchdown pass, and he's certainly under command when he runs the football.
Well, you see the numbers there. A lot of balance by McNair. He also had 76 yards rushing on 9 rushes. 55 yards, indicating the line stacked against Ed George. You saw Steve McNair come up big offensively.
Congratulations to Jeff Fisher. The team got over the 8-8 hump in a big way. The franchise making the playoffs for the first time since the Oilers did in '93. And they still have a chance to catch Jacksonville. The Jaguars were in Cleveland to face the pesky Browns and the fans. Well, it's not Halloween anymore, but, well, I guess the dog pound wanted to gobble up the Jaguars. Now watch what happens here. Unfortunate, and the referee, Jeff Triplett's flag, hits Orlando Brown in the eye. He went right over to him, but the eye swelled up immediately, Tom.
Well, and certainly you cannot condone these actions right there by Orlando Brown. But let's understand, why is it that officials throw the flag at players? I say that this could have been avoided if you just drop the flag, you pick it up, because actually this guy is a guy who makes $27 million. It's a potential lawsuit if you blind this guy.
Doesn't matter. You still don't bowl over.
I don't condone it. I don't condone it.
Probably we'll hear more by that. But Brown escorted from the field. Had to be really escorted from his whole team. Not a very Christmas sight. Now, Mark Brunell, this is a pretty sight for Jacksonville fans. To Jimmy Smith, 34 yards. Brunell running left. Guy tough or what, Tommy? Watch him. What? Flipping in the end zone, 14-0 Jackson.
Well, this is what champions are built out of. He knows there's only one way to the end zone. He's got to go over the top. He's got to take a hit to do it. He does it. He bounces back up. That's going to encourage his football team.
With the score 14-7, Jaguars blitz. Tony Bracken sacks Tim Couch. He left with a sprained left ankle. X-rays negative. Ty Detmer, Darren Chiaverini. And all of a sudden, Chris Palmer's team has made it 17-14. But then Fred Taylor got an action. You saw him in the rain on Monday night. Tommy, does he have separation or what?
An amazing burst for that last 30 yards. Once he gets into the secondary, we haven't seen anybody yet who can catch him, Chris.
Kevin Hardy also taken off the field for Jacksonville. Not with a major injury, but still he left.
Fred Taylor's 116 yards, and the Jaguars are 13-1, steamrolling toward their game next week at Tennessee. Their only loss was in Week 3 to Tennessee, so that division still up for grabs, even though both teams know they are playoff bound. When we return, the Giants resurgent at 7-6. Let's talk about a resurgent team. Dick Vermeil's Rams, they won home field advantage throughout the playoffs. At 11-2, would they get it? Kurt Warner, Dazar Keen, his first called no touchdown out of the back. The officials conferred, Tommy, and this is what they discussed.
I think you can see clearly that Akeem would have come down in the end zone. Conrad Hamilton pulled him out. I think the refs do a great job there of conferring and, again, getting the call right.
It's a touchdown, and it's 10-0 Rams. Then Warner rolls out under pressure, jumps to Marshall Faulk, and Faulk is over 2,000 yards from scrimmage for the second straight season. Boy, the Rams, they get the lead, and they have so many things to throw at you, but the Giants made a game of it. This is a pretty play from Kerry Collins to Tiki Barber. Look at the speed, and Tiki's out at the 2, which sets up 3rd and goal from the 2. Collins, oops, they settle for a field goal. The score 10-3 now. Second down. Werewolves of London, Fletcher with a 4-yard loss of Greg Camella. So that sets up 3rd and 11, and here comes the defense. Here comes the pressure, and Devin Bush makes the pick.
Yeah, great job by Devin Bush coming over the top once the quarter had the initial coverage. And Chris, look at them run.
They run. Everybody in this team is fast, offense and defense. Fourth quarter, same score. Warner. Guys, and he takes a little screen pass. And it's 65 yards. Look at him run, Tom. Gone. 24-3 with a block from one of his wide receiver friends.
Well, and Isaac Bruce only had 2 catches for 39 yards. But again, look at the receivers helping each other out with a great block.
Tommy, do they all run? Mike Jones. Along came Jones. Picks off Collins. Gone. 7 defensive touchdowns, 10 return touchdowns for the Rams. The record is 13 last year by the Seahawks. And the Rams at home continue to win by about 25 points a game. They're 12-2. They just demolished the Giants 31-10. And the Rams, I mean, they can force the action both sides all the time.
Well, I think at this point it's all about mindset. A team that's on a roll. They're playing well in all phases. And as we said, I don't think we've seen a team this fast for a long time in all phases of the game.
The 2 leaders in the East, Tom, the NFC East leading Skins and the AFC East leading Colts, met in the day's most entertaining game at the Big Horseshoe. Peyton Manning to Edgerrin James. How does he do it? I don't know how he does it. One-handed catch, touchdown, tiptoes the sideline, 37 yards, 7-0 Colts.
And for our young players, notice that Edgerrin James did not dive at the ball. He did a great job of focusing on it with his eyes and running through the catch, which literally lengthens your ability to get to the football.
Washington put the pressure all game on Manning and blitzing that time from the corner position. Mark McMillan, Sam had it made in the shade, recovers 3 fumbles in the first half for the Colts. Brad Johnson says, okay, we can score 2. You know, they score right with the Colts. 48 yards to Albert Connell, beating Jeff Burris, who would redeem himself big time. Scores 10-7, but the Skins lose Stephen Davis, sprained left ankle, the leading rusher in the NFL. Did not return, also with a slight chip fracture. More on that on Monday. Manning's pass. At the end of the first half, looking at a certain tying field goal, is tipped and picked off by Sean Barber. Archie looks on. The Colts are behind. Cornelius Bennett, a big speech at halftime, says, come on, let's win the division. The lead will take care of itself. So Manning to Marvin Harrison, who had several drops, 28 yards. 4 plays later, James controlled in the first half, but run 20 down to the 2-yard line. Next play is the first play of the fourth quarter. Play fake Manning. Look at the touchdown to Ken Gilder, 17-13, the Colts. Later in the fourth, Jason Belzer. We got to call him Belzer-Ringy. 2 guys bust through. He blocks a field goal that could have made it within 1 point.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the block again and watch at the top of the screen. You're going to see James Jenkins. He needs to take the inside guy. You could literally let the outside guy go free. He's probably not going to get there. He doesn't do a good job of blocking either, and Belzer does a great job of getting through and getting the block.
Right, Belzer has made some big plays, both on defense and now on special teams. And Edgerrin James. Patience, Tommy. Patience for James.
And great balance when he gets to the sideline, and great courage as well. We very seldom see him run out of bounds.
3 plays later, 1st and goal from the 2. Bounces off a tackle, then bounces outside a little bit. 24-13, the Colts by 11 with 6 minutes to go. On 4th and 10, Johnson to Connell for 20 yards. 2 plays later, after the Colts had held on a 4th down series earlier and a gamble by Norv Turner, here comes Washington. Connell down to the 6. Next play, Brian Mitchell to draw for a touchdown, 24-19. And is Daniel Snyder canceling that trip to the trainer's room. Then Johnson to Michael Westbrook for the 2-point conversion. Whoa, Nelly! It's 24-21. You know the onside kick is coming. And does it ever get executed better than this by Brett Conway? James Thrash has it. And now the Skins are in business, down 3. But here's Biscuit. Cornelius Bennett, fumble. Trey Johnson recovers for Washington, but it ended up 4th and 9. Pressure off the corner, out of bounds. And the Indianapolis Colts have won the division for the first time since 1987. The Colts will host their first playoff game since the Baltimore Colts in the Ghost of the Post in 1977. They're at least a 2 seed. They could be the 1 seed. In an entertaining game, the Colts win it over Washington 24-21. And this was not the best Colts game for the triplets, I think. Harrison dropped several balls. James took a while in going. Manning was pressured by Washington, threw a couple of picks, but yet they win it.
Well, and I think in many ways it's the kind of game you need to build character for the playoffs and beyond. And I think when you see, yes, they had a 100-yard receiver in Marvin Harrison, but Edgerrin James only 19 yards at the end of the first half. He came on with 70 in the second half, so he had 89. Peyton Manning, not a particularly good day, but that's the kind of games that build character. And I thought that in this game, we would find out a lot about their defense, and I think that Biscuit is playing so well. Cornelius Bennett playing like he did when he was a young Buffalo Bill. So I think as the playoffs come on strong, this is a great young team with great character.
And the Colts have tied the 1929 New York Giants. You remember them, Tom. And
I played against them, right?
The 63 Oakland Raiders you did as a 9-game improvement from the season before. And one word on Washington. I thought they played very, very well. Yes. I thought they played very well. I know they lost, and they lost a game that they wanted to win. But that defense and offense bodes well for what's coming up for them. We'll be back. And the New York Football Jets in Dallas trying to play spoiler. Dallas knowing earlier Washington had lost. They could time the Skins for first in the division. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. We know Michael was with us earlier in the day, but he must have enjoyed Troy to Emmitt. He's seen that millions of times, 146 to be exact. 146 TDs, second only behind Jerry Rice. Cowboys trail, though, now 13-7. Chris Warren inside, handoff dropped at the line of scrimmage. Conservative play calling, so Eddie Eat, Drink, and Be Murray. But Eric Bjornson takes it on the fake. Oh, those tricky Cowboys, 14-13. They have the lead for Chan Gailey. Early third quarter. Cowboys, the reverse to the Rocket. The missile scores. The Rocket scores. 21-13. Dallas at home with her 6-0. Second and goal from the 3 for the Jets. Ray Lucas. Curtis Martin, he steps up, finds Blake Spence, touchdown. Jets down 21-19 on the 2-point conversion. What happens?
Well, this is going to be Kerry Jenkins. You see him pulling right there. He's going to be trying to block the linebacker, Dat Win, and Lucas just can't get by, and Jenkins just can't get his block.
Dat Win says, you not in. And so, Parcells' Jets still behind 21-19. John Hall, 37-yard field goal. Good. Minute and a half to go. The Jets take the lead, 22-21. 50 seconds to go. Can Aikman keep them undefeated at home? Move them into first? No. The Jets have held. The Jets have now gone in and beaten Miami at the Meadowlands, and they've beaten Dallas 22-21. Lucas 20 of 34 for 229 yards. Just 1 interception and 2 touchdowns. The Jets, like the Bears, are a team playing like contenders.
Well, and we talked about Lucas's management of a football game. Those are very respectable numbers. He came in as the 3rd-rated quarterback in the AFC. I think he hasn't hurt himself in terms of those ratings.
And he threw it to the wideouts. Trebek, 8 for 108. Keyshawn, 6 for 96. The Jets play Miami again next week when we return. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won 6 in a row, steamrolling to their first NFC North Division Championship since '81. John Gruden and the Raiders at home saying, not so fast. They had 10 days to prepare, and boy, were they prepared. Rick Gannon to Ricky Dudley, Tyrone Wheatley who's just signed a new contract and deservedly so, 15 yards. Wheatley running for 10 yards against the vaunted Buccaneer defense. 2 plays later, Gannon, James Jett, 17 yards. 3 plays later, 3rd down. Gannon, Tim Brown, 20 yards. Wow, Oakland, they can look so good at times, Tom. 7-0. The Raiders.
Well, and watch Tim Brown faced with man-to-man coverage, does a great job of just running away across the football field and still has that great speed where he can run past the secondary.
The score 10-0 Raiders, second quarter. Mike, bad hands with Allstott. Fumble. Charles Woodson. He's going to return it to the Tampa 31-yard line. 6 fumbles for Allstott. Raiders ball. Tyrone. It's a touchdown. 17-0 Oakland. 4 seconds left in the second quarter. Bucks trying to make something happen. Sean King to Jack Wes Green. The flip to Warwick Dunn. 13, yeah, but you know what? The half ran out. You might as well try it. The old hook and ladder for Tony Dungy. Sean King, who has not lost the game since '97. Oh, man, when it rains, it pours. That looked like a backward shovel pass to Lance Johnstone, I presume, 13 yards.
And this has actually happened to him a couple of times already in his short career where he has gone back. He's got the smallish hands. He takes that ball, just loses a handle on it.
Napoleon Kaufman, the hand out of the vest, into the end zone. 17 yards, 31-0. Kaufman running right. Running back to the left. Bobby Hoying in a quarterback. He's blocking. Oh, my God, it's 75 yards. The Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Bucks, had given up 174 points all year. Today they gave up 45. That's over a quarter. As the Raiders, another one of those teams who are at 7-7, look better than a team going for its division championship. And maybe, Tom, I'm not sure. First of all, I guess we won't say
Well, don't use the S word.
No, there'll be a different one that I'm
Yeah, don't use it.
But maybe it's best that they get one of those games out of there all together like that. And Sean, then they can regroup rather than, you know what I'm saying?
I think this is one of those games where you don't even watch this film.
Right.
You just go right back to work for your next opponent. You get ready. You chalk this up to a day where everything went badly for us. But I think the most discouraging thing about this game was the efficiency with which the Raiders were able to run the football against that defensive front.
Tampa still controls their own destiny as Detroit lost as well. No matter what happens on Monday night, the Bucs can win the division winning out. We're not playing. Seattle, losers of 3 straight, a half a game behind the Chiefs now in the AFC West. Going to a place that, well, the Seahawks, before Mike Holmgren got there, rarely when they've lost 9 of 10. Chris Watson fields a punt first quarter, gets a block from Anthony Lynn. Another one downfield from Ray Crockett. And he's gone. Could go all the way. 81 yards, 7-0 Broncos. Now we're in a hurry because it's 23-20 Denver. And Olandis Gary, after Seattle had 2 chances to score touchdowns, one a penalty, one a drop by Sean Dawkins, settled for a field goal. Gary's 71-yard run sets up a Denver touchdown, 30-20. But Seattle down with 1:02 left by 10. Now John Kitna goes to Derek Mays, 30-27. Remember the Washington game when they recovered an onside kick? Todd Peterson. Yes, it just went 10 yards. Kerry Joseph recovers for Seattle. 28 seconds left. Kitna picked up, no drop by Bill Romanowski. Seattle alive. 9 seconds left. Todd Peterson missed 3 last week, but he drills a 45-yarder. We're tied at 30. 10 points the last minute. Maybe the jinx is over. First possession overtime. Kitna overthrows Joey Galloway. Ooh, there was the game. Next play. No, there was the game. Crockett, blitz. Glenn Cadrez, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. And the Broncos have beaten the Seahawks 36-30 in overtime. They've played overtime 6 times, these 2 teams. The Broncos winning 5, and the Seattle Seahawks. Well, look at Gary, 183 yards. The Seahawks have to scratch their heads.
Well, it's certainly a tough place to play for the Seahawks, but Olandis Gary, what a marvelous football game he played.
And the Seahawks host Kansas City next week to try to climb back into first place.
Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
My primetime player, he's going to start for the rest of the year for the Bears. I just like the way they played all year. Cade McMown, 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them to Cuckoo Kachu, Marcus Robinson.
I gave mine to the entire Rams defense. 2 INTs. They returned for 2 touchdowns, the 2 sacks, 67 rush yards allowed. They are #1 in the National Football League. They give their offense a great stand defensively.
Congrats to teams like St. Louis and Indianapolis and Tennessee, which gets in. But Tommy, how's this? The first and 2 second-place teams in the NFC East and the first and second-place team in the NFC Central lost, and 4 of the 6 last-place teams in the divisions all won. Why? Why?
We can't ponder that stuff too much.
Okay.
I don't want to think about that.
For our friend from all of us here, as our friends in Hawaii would say, Mele Kalikimaka. Merry Christmas. Enjoy football from the desert. National Football League, which means Week 16. Hi, everybody. Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. May we be the last to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, but one of the first to wish a Happy New Year. A showdown in an AFC game, Tom. NFC teams stacking up in the playoffs, but not everybody flying into the postseason.
Some of those NFC teams taking a most unusual route into the playoffs.
Very unusual. I'll tell you what, let's start, though, with a game not dripping with playoff implications at the Big Crab Cake, where the Baltimore Ravens, a lot of the teams are playing the best ball, Tom, are not the ones really in line for the playoffs. The Ravens began the day with the Bengals. It's still mathematically alive. And Tony Banks, Eric Ritt, touchdown, 2 yards, 7-0, Baltimore. Late second, it's 13-0, and Jeff Blake is picked off by Rod Woodson, going to the Pro Bowl now as a free safety. His 54th interception ties him with the legendary Willie Brown. Could he go all the way for the 3rd time this year? If he does, it's his 10th return. He doesn't, that would be an NFL record. 4th quarter, the Bengals have driven 14 plays for 94 yards. Michael Bassline on first down, stopped. 2nd down, Jeff Blake knocked down by Chris McAllister. Certainly, though, well, Bruce Kozlik and Jeff Blake don't really look like they're on the same page here. 3rd and goal, actually they were. It's a touchdown Bengals on the 17th play, but naturally a flag on the play. So we go back to 3rd and goal from the 6. Blake, field goal good, but no, wait a minute, it's holding on the Ravens. So 1st and goal, they're obviously going to get in, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Well, Michael Bassnight, nothing. 2nd goal, they're going to get it at the touchdown right. No, well, incomplete to Darnay Scott. 3rd and goal, they're going to get the touchdown right here. Blake to Scott, incomplete. So certainly they're going to get a field goal. Doug Pelfrey, are you kidding? Blocked from 20 yards. 21 plays, almost 10 minutes, no points. The Bengals have a bye and they forget everything they knew, like a 3-game winning streak. And the Baltimore Ravens, although they were eliminated from the playoffs, get 5 field goals from Matt Stover. They're 8-7, their first ever shutout. They're a team to watch next year.
Brian Billick's team improved on both sides of the ball. They have an outstanding defense. You can see Billick's work with the quarterback position. So I think that this team has something to look for coming into next season.
They've won 6 of their last 8. Their only 2 losses were to Jacksonville. Cards, Falcons in a matter of pride. And the Rams, can anybody stop them? The latest to line up to try to do it, the Bears.
Bye. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
Cardinals at last year's NFC champion, Atlanta Falcons. And the St. Louis Rams at home against the Chicago Bears. The Rams have averaged winning games at home by 25 points a game. Chicago bringing the lumber early. Jeff Robinson nailed by Tony Parrish. Nice touch, though, by Kurt Warner, but they paid for it, and Sean Harris with the interception. Look at the speed of DeMarco Moore. Forces the fumble. Grant Wistrom picks it up, but Bobby Ingram is chasing the big lineman and actually gets the ball back for the Bears. They reviewed it, but they said Bears ball. So we're scoreless in the second until Kurt Warner from the 48 to Marshall Faulk. Now watch the convoy and watch the second gear. Whoop! Right there. Gone. 48 yards, 7-0 St. Louis.
Boomer, he may be shifting in the 5th here. It happened around the 35-yard line. He's going to run about 15 yards. Look at him set up the block. And watch when he kicks it in gear right there. Not going to catch that before he gets to the end zone.
Later on in the second quarter, Warner, the little swing to Faulk. And he's going to swing past everyone for 42 yards. Sets up to Roland Williams, 2-yard touchdown. Faulk, 10 catches for 168 in the first half. Wow. Rams defense, hey, they're all fast. They all have hands. They all can score. That's right, the defense. Grant Wistrom with the pick on Shane Matthews. And he could go all the way. 40 yards at this point. It's 31-0.
And watch the athleticism of Grant Winstrom. We take another look. He actually reaches back and catches the ball behind him. Boom.
In this game, Marshall Faulk caught 12 for 204. He joins Roger Craig, who did it in 1985, as the only 1,000-yard back. 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 receiving. 3 touchdown passes for Kurt Warner gives him 39, tying him for third best all time. Marino had over 40 twice. Brett Favre had 39 once, and now Kurt Warner has 39. Tommy, I mean, the St. Louis Rams, I mean, their last non-turf dome game is a meaningless game next Sunday at Philadelphia. They're fast, they're on turf, they're indoors, they're going to be tough to beat.
Well, Boom, I hear you reel off all those numbers synonymous with being a pretty good football team, and I think we were all surprised at the beginning of the year from what we saw from the Rams. It has now become routine. Another 3-touchdown effort from the quarterback, Kurt Warner. Marshall Faulk, a tremendous staple, rushing and receiving. An opportunistic defense that not only gets the ball, but gets the ball into the end zone. As Boom said, they now know that at least in the playoffs, they will be playing at home. And I ask the question, who, when we look at the rest of the NFC, who can beat this ball club? I don't see one.
Either a superhuman defensive effort in the TWA Dome by a team like Tampa, superhuman defense, or a team that's going to score 40 points and let it air out like Minnesota or Washington. Those look like the only type of clubs that have a shot. Outbound certainly is Indianapolis. They've won 10 in a row, playing at Cleveland, who with a bye the last week, this would make them the final game, take the rest of the season off. Their fans looking for an upset. Could they deliver? Well, Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison, 30 yards, setting up an Edgerrin James touchdown. We're tied at 7. Still 7-7 second quarter. Ty Detmer scrambling out of the pocket with a flag on the play. Darren Chiaverini, boy, has he had a nice month. 28-yard pass to the rookie. Flag is on the Colts, 14-7 Browns.
And Chiaverini does a great job here of staying alive. Look at him working the route back outside, coming back inside. And watch Tyrone Poole right there at the end. Just doesn't have the speed to catch back up. Lacks a little bit of effort right there.
Tom, it's Cleveland 14-13 at the half. Second half on 3rd and 4 from the 8. Detmer's going to run it, and he's going to score it. 21-13 Cleveland. Now after Indianapolis has scored but missed 2 to make it 21-19, Detmer to Kevin Johnson with a great catch. One-handed, 26 yards.
And again, Tyrone Poole just doesn't get his head around. You see the catch there on the sideline.
4 plays later, Terry Kirby, touchdown. Cleveland leading the Colts of Jim Mora, 28-19. Carmen Policy, Al Lerner enjoying it. 10 minutes to go, Edgerrin James scores a touchdown. His 3rd of the game, 28-26. Colts last chance on 3rd down with a $1.25 to go. Manning screen to James. The rookie gets the first down, 11 yards. 3rd and 3 from the 13. Darius Holland is offside, so the Colts get a free first down to the chagrin of Chris Palmer. 7 seconds to go. Mike Vanderjag, who kicked outdoors in colder weather than this in Canada, and has kicked longer field goals than this, witnessed the game at Miami. 21 yards is good. Jim Mora goes, whoa. Babe Ruth wasn't number 1. No, actually saying, whoa, we just escaped. And the Colts have won 11 in a row. That's with their 10-win improvement over last year, the biggest single-season improvement in NFL history. They beat the very game Cleveland Browns 29-28, but Tommy, the Colts got a wake-up call.
Well, big win for Jim Mora. I think it will help him keep his team focused. They understand now they played the expansion Browns. They almost lost the game. How tough do we have to be going down the stretch now and into the playoffs?
And after 27 straight games with a touchdown pass, none for Peyton Manning, so his streak ends. And a nice way to go out and a building block for the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo still alive at New England, where they've lost 4 straight times. 26th of December and not covered with snow. Were those Saints fans? No, those are Patriot fans. Adam Vinatieri, remember this theme, 44-yard field goal into the wind, no good. Now, what is that, a kerchief? What is that? 4th quarter, we're tied at 3 in a drab game. Jonathan Linton, it's a fumble. Now watch the middle of the pile. Big Chad Eaton, no one touches him, and he's going to try and sneak for a touchdown until Doug Flutie upends him right there at the 15. Pete Carroll is pumped. Wade Phillips wants to tug on that ski cap. Next play, when Terry Allen goes in, ski cap comes down, 10-3 New England. Later on, we're tied at 10. $1:19 to go. Drew Bledsoe. Not exactly Fred Tarkenton, but still a nice run down to the 19-yard line, a 22-yard gain. Setting up 33-yard field goal for the win. Adam Vinatieri. Oh, my goodness, we've hit wedges like that, but the Bills finally get a wide right to their favor. Overtime. New England gets the toss. Vinatieri, 44 yards, short. So, given about 8 lives, Doug Flutie hits Eric Moles, 10 yards. Next play after that third down completion. Flutie, Kevin Williams, 9 yards down to the 18th. 12 straight completions for Doug Flutie, to the chagrin of Steve Sidwell, defensive coordinator in New England. Steve Christie, good, 23 yards. Boy, the Buffalo Bills, who have struggled in recent years against New England, dodge a major bullet. They win in overtime, 13-10 in New England. It's up their mark to 10-5. They don't yet clinch a playoff spot, but they keep moving forward. But this is a team, Tom, that has trouble putting points on the boards, despite the fact they play rock-solid defense.
Well, I think you're exactly right. A great job of moving the ball in between the 20s, but once they get into the red zone, so much of a problem putting that ball in. They settle for field goals instead of touchdowns.
They sacked Drew Bledsoe 6 times, giving them 12 sacks. Carolina Panthers suddenly alive with a big second-half rush at 7-7 at Pittsburgh. Their first losing season ever at Three Rivers Stadium. Fred Lane fumbles, and Travis Davis, 2 yards in his own end zone, is going to bring it out. What a fool, right? No, I don't think so. Look at the defenders smelling the end zone. Travis Davis, good. Go all the way. 102-yard fumble return, the second longest in NFL history. Only Jack Tatum, 104 yards, 72 Raiders, longer. 10-0 Steelers. Richard Huntley Brinkley's his way for 25 yards into the end zone. Steelers ran for 137 yards on the ground in the first half. 12 seconds left on 4th down in the first half, starting to snow. Steve Berline, what are you going to do, Tom?
Knock it down.
They don't. Patrick Jeffers catches it. What a wild first half. 23-20 Steelers at the half, but what is this, the snowplow game? Nope. Oh, it looks like old-time football. Finally took to December 26th. Huntley through the snow. First down, then Jerome Bettis.
And look at Jerome Bettis. Now, he's working his way through this snow. Used to playing in the cold, used to playing in this kind of weather. So he's going to do a much better job, obviously, than the Carolina Panthers. And here again, get some tough yards for an important first down near the end of the game.
Very smart for the Steelers to put snow tires on the bus, because an 8-yard run, touchdown. That's the margin the Steelers need to breathe a little easier. The only scoring in the second half, as the snow cave, as you can see in the second half. The Steelers beat the Panthers 30-20. Panthers at 7-8 are still alive, but they need some help. Steve Berline, Pro Bowl bound, was intercepted once, and the Panthers lost 2 fumbles. Tough to turn the ball over 3 times on the road and win it. Vikings, Giants, 2 teams very much alive in the play. They were the heavy. The problem was the Tennessee Titans never got the message. Here we go from the frozen tundra of Philadelphia Coliseum. Steve McNair had 6 touchdown passes all year. Remember that. Oh, make it 7. McNair to Michael Roan, who martins his way 4 yards, 7-0 Titans. McNair, now you know he can do this, Tom. He scrambles, and then he finds, there he is, tight end Jackie Harris. Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. 62 yards. 2 touchdown passes already for McNair. 14-0 Tennessee.
Look at Jackie Harris' spot shadow. This is a great job on both ends of this play. Steve McNair going to keep his head up. Jackie Harris gets knocked down. He keeps working for the quarterback, gets wide open in the middle of the field. Steve McNair spots him. You can see right there the area that he has to run to.
Mark Brunell with the score, 17-7 left with a sprained left knee. Team hopes it's not long-term, is optimistic he can play next week. Meanwhile, McNair, nothing sprained here except some feelings for the Jaguars. Spins away from Seth Payne to pick up 10. 2 plays later, final minute of the first half. McNair, pressure by Tony Brackens, scrambles for 10 more down to the 2. With 29 seconds to go, McNair, his 3rd touchdown pass of the half. Yancey Thigpen, touchdown, 24-7 Tennessee. Jay Fiedler, last play of the half. Oh, he's just nailed by Javon Kearse. And, well, we fold him up, we get rid of him, and it's 24-7 at the half. Fred Taylor, stuffed by Doug Coleman. No first downs, Jags, 3rd quarter, playing with Jay Fiedler. Meanwhile, McNair rolls, sells the fake to Isaac Bird. Harris' touchdown was the longest pass play allowed this year from Jacksonville, though. Now this one is 65 yards, and Bird does the Bird. Next play, Jay Fiedler from Dartmouth. Picked off by Summary Roll, who rolls it back upfield to the Jags 37. Roll had 3 picks on the day. Later in the third quarter, with the score 31-7. Ooh, Tennessee smelling more. McNair to Kevin Dyson. Dives in. 41-14. Tennessee embarrasses the now 13-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers for Steve McNair as Tennessee rolled up over 470 yards in offense. Afterwards, McNair beaming.
A lot of teams been daring us to throw the football this year, and we haven't been successful. We want to come out and prove a point.
We're going to have to play our tails off to get that 14th win and try to put ourselves in a position where we're playing the kind of football that allows you to go into the playoffs with a chance to win.
Well, as you look at more stats, let's just put it this way. Jacksonville still, of course, with a 1-game lead on Tennessee. They win next week at home against the Bengals. They will win the division. They, right now, without getting into it, probably have tie-break advantage over the Colts if they each end up 14-2. So Jacksonville's still the inside track of the #1 seed. If they lose next week, Tennessee wins. Tennessee wins the division. And I would say Jacksonville flunked the big test, and Tennessee came through with flying colors, obviously.
Well, if there were any messages sent, they were sent by the Tennessee Titans today, and that is that we have some offensive potential. We have the ability to get the ball to the wide receivers. An outstanding game from Steve McNair, and I think defensively now, Javon Kearse, Kenny Holmes, Henry Ford, those guys have grown up front. And I was most impressed with the fact that they put a halter on Fred Taylor. He got 44 yards, but he got 20 of it on one play. So the rest of that game, they hold him to 24 yards.
Mama said there would be days like this as we go inside the numbers. The Jacksonville Jaguars, for a long time this year, were on pace to break the all-time record for fewest points allowed in a 16-game season set by the 86 Bears, the team after the great 85 Bears. Well, you can forget about it. Today they gave up 41 points. There was a 6-game span this year, Tom, that they gave up 36 points combined. So 41 today, almost 500 yards. Tennessee finishes the regular season undefeated at home. They have at least one home game at Adelphia Coliseum coming up.
Inside
the Green Bay Packers at the new sombrero to take on the Tampa Bay Bucks, who learned, well, there's a Bucks fans with a cheese grater. Earlier in the day, the Bucks learned they were in. They want the division. And early on, punter Mark Royals to Damian Robinson on a fake punt extends a drive with the Bucks leading 3-0. Same drive now, second quarter. Sean King to Dave Moore overthrows him, which sets up 3rd and goal for 10. Looking for Riedel Anthony. One of the McKenzie brothers, Mike McKenzie, drills him. Automatica Grammatica. Field goal, 28 yards, 6-0 Bucks. Twice in the red zone, but only 2 field goals, Tom. Now a 3rd field goal makes it 9-3. Under 2 minutes to go in the half. Picked off by Tyrone Williams. Packers in business near midfield. 30 seconds left in the half. Like days of old. Brett Favre to Dorsey Levens. He's got a block. What a nice move. And he's in the end zone. 10-9 Pack at the half.
Well, this play used to be a staple of the Green Bay Packer offense. Watch number 52, Frank Winters, and number 63, Riley McKenzie, going to throw outstanding blocks, get the great read and the setup by Dorsey Levens, and then the great footwork on the sideline, and the high step into the end zone.
At halftime, the Tampa Bay defense decided enough was enough. Watch the hit on Bill Schrader. And it's a fumble. Hardy Nickerson with a hit. John Lynch is on the ball. Bucks have it. So Sean King, the youngster, to Warwick Dunn, who takes it in for the score, and the Bucks lead 16-10. Now in the 4th quarter, in the red zone of the Bucks. Mike Goodhas with All-Star, 5 yards. Bouncing outside is All-Star. 5-yard touchdown. 22-10 Bucks. Later in the 4th, Favre looking for Corey Bradford. Damian Robinson, 2nd pick of the day. Bucks ball. Now look at All-Star. This is a big guy with some moves. The juke right there. on Mike McKenzie. Second touchdown all-stop. 20 Tampa Bay points off Green Bay turnovers. That's the way they score. And the Bucs beat the Packers 29-10. The Pack at 7-8, still alive, but barely. The Packers' leading rusher was Brett Favre with 2 carries for 8 yards. Alston had 79 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Now, the Bucs, give them credit. They're in the playoffs. They haven't won the division yet. Though they win next week, they will win the division and then have a bye and host a playoff game, at least one. They bounce back nicely from that disaster at Oakland.
Well, this is all about their blueprint for success. Play outstanding defense, create turnovers, don't ask your quarterback to win the football game, and let Allstott and Dunn, and especially Allstott inside the red zone, do the damage. I thought they did a great job of that. But the bigger question now, you get into the playoffs, how far can you go without the quarterback really, really producing, throwing the ball downfield?
Well, they're at Chicago next week. If they're at home in the playoffs, which they would be if they win the division against anybody except St. Louis, that defense plays on emotion. Would this be the last game at the Kingdome? Down to the Murph for the Bolts at home against Rich Gannon, Pro Bowl bound. Pass deflected, picked off by Junior Seau, who somehow is not Pro Bowl bound. Look at Seau. Where do I, whoop? Do I flip, whoop? 16 yards, setting up a field goal, 13-10 San Diego at the half. Third quarter, same score. Gannon. Reverse screen to Ricky Dudley. 24 yards, down to the 7. Same drive, 3rd and goal. Gannon rolls. He's mobile. The Chargers can play some D now. Tipped by Lou Bush, but Dudley makes the catch for a touchdown. 17-13 Oakland. It's now 20-13 Oakland and Jim Harbaugh. Looking deep for Jeff Graham. Crackers his way in front of 2 Raider defenders for 49-yard pickup. 10 yards, ties the game at 20. Harbaugh to Graham. 4.5 to go. It's now 23-20. Carney has kicked a field goal for San Diego. Screen to Tyrone Whitney. He has 27 yards on this pickup before he's finally wrestled down. 3rd and 10 from the 19. Chargers blitz. Norman Hannon, Junior Seau. 8-yard loss. Senior Seau. Junior Seau. All the Seaus are pumped. Joe Nedney, 44-yard field goal. No good. Good night, everybody. San Diego wins 23-20. So both teams at 7 and 8. And no disrespect to anyone who's made it, Tom. How do you have a Pro Bowl without?
Well, there's never enough spots on a Pro Bowl team, but you just certainly feel uncomfortable with a guy who plays like Junior Seau does not being in a wide.
Primetime Players is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
Marshall Faulk, 204 yards receiving, 258 yards on the day, the second only 1,000 man in football history. The Marshall plan gets my game ball, Tom.
I know mine's a shock. It goes to Steve McNair today, 23 of 33, 291 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, the 5 touchdowns, a career high, Boom.
Well, we still have the AFC Central unsettled. Both Jacksonville and Tennessee are going. Basically, how it boils down in the AFC, the team that doesn't win the West, Buffalo and Miami, those 3 teams are competing for the last 2 spots. In the NFC, St. Louis, Tampa, Minnesota, Washington, Detroit, all in. 4 teams at 7 and 8 fighting for the last spot. Dallas is the only team, believe it or not, that controls their own destiny. Happy New Year, everybody. Haole makahiki ho. For Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. Enjoy the Skins at 9. The first football Sunday of the new millennium. It was wild, it was wacky, it was fun, and we have an hour to show you all the stuff, just like God invented it. An hour-long NFL primetime. Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Boom.
And I'll tell you what, this was, I know not all the teams who were scrapping and gave us some of the best shows today are going to go very far in the playoffs, but Tom, what fun.
Well, it was a great day of football, one of the most fun days we've had this season. And I think this is the way the NFL always dreamed that parity would be. This is what it meant the last weekend of the season.
Well, a team that hasn't shown much parity because they won 11 straight games. The Colts have, for the first time since Don Shula coached them in the 60s, The AFC East champs went to Buffalo, a division usually owned, or used to be owned by the Buffalo Bills. Bills not starting Doug Flutie, starting Rob Johnson in a game that didn't mean that much, almost nothing to Buffalo, and maybe positioning for the Colts. And the Colts, would they win their 12th in a row? This wasn't a classic case of it, but we have to say it anyway. A reminder that no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. We just had to say it. Bills trailing 3-0, but it would not be a recurring theme. Antoine Smith bumps outside. Touchdown, Buffalo, 7-3. Next possession, first quarter, Bills. Rob Johnson, the throw to Eric Moulds, who's got the strong arm, and my goodness, he's been waiting for this opportunity. 42 yards. Then Johnson hitting Peyton Manning's old receiver, Peerless Price. It looks like a touchdown, but they call no catch. Is it close? Wade Phillips, not wearing the lucky gray sweater, goes for the challenge, and replay shows, yes, Price was indeed Peerless. Touchdown. 23 yards, 14-3, Buffalo. Later in the second quarter with the score 14-6, look at Rob Johnson move to him.
Great job of the coaching staff moving him out of the pocket, using his legs, getting him open to the outside.
Speaking of fresh legs, Jonathan Linton, 3 yards, 21-6, Bills, and he had help.
Yeah, just take a look at the offensive line blocking. The tight end, Shelton Jackson, is going to make a great block. And then watch number 70, John Cena, clean up on the corner. And Linton can go in untouched right by the pylon.
And then it was a time for a little history. Andre Reed didn't want to talk to anyone, even his regular quarterback, Doug Flutie. The dump off to Reed here in the fourth quarter, and he's now caught. He is tied Art Monk for second all-time. He needed 4 to tie at 9:40, and then after Andre hugged, there it is, number 941. He passes Art Monk, he's second only to Jerry Rice. An emotional moment for a man who has epitomized the spirit, the ability, and the success of the Buffalo Bills. The hug to Bruce Smith, and the Bills go into the playoffs flying. They probably, it would be long odds for them to have a home game. It would only come at the end of the run. They will open up on the road, but they open up slicing and dicing a Colts team that beat them the first game of the year. Buffalo winning 31-6 on a historic day for Andre Reed. Afterwards, Peyton Manning said, well, you can't win them all.
Nobody in America would have thought the Colts would have gone 13-3, myself included. We got a first-round bye. We're going to use it. Whoever we play coming at home, we got a chance to play them at home. It's going to be a great team, and we have to play well to win in the playoffs.
And the Bills' defense also pitched in. As you look at stats on the game, fewest points allowed in Buffalo history, 229. They allowed only 23 touchdowns. Andre Reed ends this season second all-time in catches to Art Monk, and he passed Steve Largent for fourth place with 13,095 yards. Congratulations to number 83, Andre Reed. Bengals and the Jaguars, Mark Brunell not playing out knee injury. Jay Fiedler from Dartmouth trying to help the Jags nail down the AFC Central. Keenan McCardell, touchdown. It's 17-7 at the half. A good-looking play, Tom.
Anytime you see a quarterback get that comfortable, you know he's got great blocking. Here you can see Damon Shelton, the fullback, pick up K.O. Spikes, the blitzing linebacker, and you can see right there, Fiedler had plenty of time to step into that throw.
Now, the Gator Bowl was played on this field yesterday, so it was a problem for players. I'm not sure whether it was the field that was the problem, but watch Tony Baselli, and this looks bad here, the all-pro tackle. Look at him grab the leg, and he's hurt. Leaves the knee with a sprain, game with a sprained right knee. Hank Goldberg reports MRI Monday. We'll know more. Leon Searcy also left the game, the other Pro Bowl tackle. Fred Taylor, one of the best one-yard touchdown runs you'll ever see. He had 2 TDs, 24-7 Jags. Fiedler threw for 317 yards, his first NFL start. Oh, you know those Ivy Leaguers, usual backup role like Jason Garrett and Jay Fiedler. They come in the Jags. Hey, they put together some of the pieces of last week's debacle at Tennessee. They win by the count of 24-7 as they get 440 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. What we just saw in this segment was 3. Patriots, after a good start, Robert Kraft has seen his team. Wow, they should have moved to Hartford. Tied at 3 in the second quarter, Troy Brown and his band of renown. Bounces outside, now bounces back to the middle. Brown still trying, 52 yards out of the 23-yard line. Drew Bledsoe finishes that drive with a 1-yard TD pass. Scores 13-3 against Baltimore. Oh, the hit by Ted Johnson. Hits it, fumble by Tony Banks. Chad Eaton, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Johnson with a good play.
And boy, did this defense miss Ted Johnson's toughness throughout most of the season, Boom.
So the Patriots win on getaway day. Probably. They win it by the count of 20-3. And so both they and the Ravens, who had a good second half, finish up their season at 8-8. And actually, the way it turns out, the Patriots end up being the 5th-place team, and they'll get a 5th-place schedule next year. They lose, but in this case, win the tiebreaker, if you will, with the New York Jets. More on that in a moment. As for the Rams, Dick Vermeil was going home to Philadelphia. St. Louis Rams coming in as kings of the NFC. The Rams at 13-2. And early on, it's the defense, which has been so good. They tip a ball by Donovan McNabb. And here's Mike Jones. This defense has scored 8 TDs themselves, and he almost does it down to the 8-yard line, setting up Kurt Warner. And isn't it interesting, his 40th touchdown pass is underhand. Shovel pass to Marshall Faulk. He joins Dan Marino as the only 2 quarterbacks ever to throw for 40 or more in one season. Congratulations. Look at Marshall Faulk, his 2nd year.
And he is so fast, but he runs under control as you watch the subtle little cuts and then the great job of covering up the ball at the end of that run, Boom.
Well, and he breaks Barry Sanders' record for yards from scrimmage. The record was 2.358. Faulk shatters it. But meanwhile, Donovan McNabb, the Eagles had Christmas week off. They had 2 weeks to prepare for the Rams. As we told you on NFL Countdown, they would go deep against the Rams and try and play their game. And look at the moves by Torrance Small on Todd Light. Good night. The Eagles have cut it to 14-10. Faulk, 106 yards, 2 TDs first half. He would sit, but Kurt Warner still playing third quarter. Picked off by Mike Mamula. Rubbing, bubbling, stumbling, 41 yards. What a great play for a touchdown.
We've seen 2 like this in 2 weeks. Last week it was Grant Winstrom of the Rams. This week Mike Mamula. And watch the one-handed catch. He pins it to his body with the left hand and starts upfield. What a great play by the defensive end.
Later in the third quarter, on 3rd and 13, Warner to Torrey Holt, 15 yards. We're tied at 24, and Warner would come out of the game, but a lot of the Rams starters playing into the third quarter. Now, in the fourth quarter, Joe Germain would come in at quarterback. Avoids 1 sack, but he should have taken the sack. That wounded duck to Al Harris. Touchdown. 7 turnovers forced by the Eagle defense. Remember, they did the same thing to New England in their last game 2 weeks ago? I know the Rams had all the yards. They had, what, over 400 as usual, actually 440. But the game and gutty Eagles beat the Rams on getaway day 38-31. Should I be concerned if I'm St. Louis?
I don't think so. Other than the turnovers, the biggest number in football is rushing and rush defense. The Rams rushed for over 200 yards. They held the Eagles to under 50. I think they think those will sustain them in the playoffs.
And there's nothing more fun than watching a young team win a game against the better team at the end of the year. They win their first NFC Norris Division Championship since 1981. Could Sean King and the Bucs win the cold? Hey, 54 degrees in Chicago in January. And early on, it was their young quarterback, Cade McNown. It was a false start. And then McNown scrambles, but the Bucs can play some defense. Donnie Abraham.
Well, Cade McNown, a great job of getting outside the pocket, but throwing against his body.
Now, Abraham, there was a flag after the interception. Bucs only get a field goal, and so they have the lead, and then here's some defense.
Yeah, you're going to see right there Marcus Jones is hitting McNown's arm before the ball comes forward. That's a fumble recovered by Steve White.
That sets up Mike Goodhands with Allstott. Defense setting up the offense. That's what Tampa Bay done. Tony Dungy squad leads 10-0 at the half. But you know what? This guy has played 12 years for Tampa Bay, never winning a division title. He's been so proud at left tackle. Paul Gruber. Oh, he carted off, breaks his leg. A broken leg for Paul Gruber. What a shame. He's been a Buck since 1988. But he's been a big reason why this is happening. Warwick Dunn swimming for 33 yards. First down in Bears territory. 3 plays later on 3rd and 1, Mike Allstott. Actually, you don't even need to use the sound effects. He's bouncing outside the last couple of games, Tom. That's 20 yards. And then Sean King. And in the red zone, he's impressive.
And this is what has been effective. He's been effective doing this ever since he started games, 4 games, 5 games ago. Once you get inside the red zone, he's able to find that tight end, find the receiver, and get the ball in the end zone for the score.
Hey, they're champs of the Norris. The Tampa Bay Bucs have skated to their first divisional championship since 1981. The first time they've ever won 11 games, the well-earned shower for Tony Dungy. And in this game, the Bucs, as the coach said, finished off some drives. So if they get 20 points in the 20s, they can play with teams with that defense. Afterward, ESPN's Hardy Nickerson, he laid it. At the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Cheeseheads enforced not that cold to watch Ray Rhodes and the Packers try to even their mark at 8-8 and beat the Arizona Cardinals, who last won at the Packers in 1949 as the Chicago Cardinals. 14-3 early. Dorsey Levin scores, and Bill Schrader jumps over. Meanwhile, Carolina playing at home against the Saints. They lead 17-0. Looking to score again, Steve Berline to Wesley Walsh. We need to score a lot of points. It's 24-0 Carolina. Mike Ditka knows the deal, but he's not pleased. Green Bay at this point lead over Carolina in the point differential +5. Dorsey Levin, third quarter. 1,000-yard season for him, thanks to this 36-yard run. Later in the drive, Levin's touchdown. Late third quarter, 21-3 pack. Their differential now running total over Carolina is +12. Back to Carolina at 3:11 Eastern time. Berline to Patrick Jeffers. Makes the adjustment, 31-0 Carolina. And at this moment, Carolina's pulled to within 5 points in the differential. A minute later, 3:12 Eastern. Jake Plummer says, you know what? We're going to at least try to play some sort of spoiler. Frank Sanders, touchdown at 21-10. And Carolina, at this moment, would be in the playoffs if the guns went off. But we're so far from that, we don't even know what to say. 3:15. Basil Mitchell puts a little oregano, puts a little tarragon, and puts a lot of spice into an 88-yard kickoff return. Touchdown pass. They lead 28-10, and they're +5. And you know they're being told, Tom, what's going on. 3:22 in Carolina. Jake Delhomme tries to put the Panthers Delhomme for the playoffs. Touchdown. So even though it's 31-7, they're out of this game. The Pack now have a 12-point lead over Carolina. It's as if New Orleans was playing for Green Bay and Arizona was playing for Carolina. Michael Bates. Whoop! Whoop! Oh, my goodness. Don't tell me he's going to do it. He could go all the way. 95 yards, 38-7 Panthers. They're within 5 of the Pack. Back to Green Bay, 3:29 Eastern. Dorsey Levin. Third touchdown of the game. 35-10 Green Bay. They're in good shape now because it's late, +12. But not so fast. Here comes Arizona. Jake Plummer. To Rob Moore, beats 2 defenders. 51 yards. Ray Rhodes. We can't allow points, but they do. Mario Bates, touchdown, 35-17. The Packers lead the Panthers by just 5 in the differential. 3:45 Eastern time in Carolina. Steve Berline, they know exactly what the score is. And so they go deep to Jeffers, 32 yards, and the Panthers have now left over the Packers at +2. 3:51 Eastern, back to Green Bay. Arizona can further help Carolina, but maybe the play of the year in retrospect, one of the McKenzie brothers, Mike McKenzie, makes a great pick.
Well, and a great job by McKenzie of getting his head around, watching, focus on the football. Great job of fighting the receiver off and making the interception at the goal line.
So, Brent Favre, the Packers need points. They're down to 3:50 of the game out of zone 1 at Lambeau. What could happen? You know what's going to happen. 8 yards to Corey Bradford. Now, hurry up offense, even though they're up 35-17 because of the differential. What an odd bunch of circumstances, creating some unbelievable football. Favre to Bradford, 31 yards. Hurry up offense. Favre. Bill Schrader, 15 yards. 4 o'clock Eastern time. Favre pumps. Schrader, touchdown, 99-yard drive, 42-17 Pack, and the big number on the Lambeau Leaf, +5 over Carolina, who knows exactly what's going on, Tom, because at 4:10 in Charlotte, Jake Delhomme hurting the Panthers, helping the Packers. He's in. And I know it's 45-13, but Mike Ditka says, I know, George Seifert, I know you have to do this, but let's go for 2. I don't care. I'm caught up in this, too. Let's go for 2. But first, challenge. Was he in? Touchdown stands. So on the 2-point conversion, I mean, this is unbelievable. Jalou, batted down by Kevin Green, so Green Bay's differential is plus 11. George Seifert hoping for Arizona almost north of the border in Green Bay. Meanwhile, at 4:11 Eastern, Seifert gets a wish. Plummer to Matt Commander Cody, touchdown, and Green Bay's lead is down to just 4 over Carolina. Back to Carolina. Ditka goes for an onside kick. He's caught up in it. I want points, but it's recovered by Anthony Johnson. Green Bay figuring this is easy. Meanwhile, they don't know that Burline. Oh, it's incomplete to Muhsin Muhammad. In Green Bay, they figure they're safe. There's a minute left in Carolina, and there's no way Carolina would have the ball in scoring position. But then word comes in to Ray Rhodes on the sideline. We need more points, and Carolina has the ball at the 30. So Favre, instead of running out the clock, throws a bomb. Charles Jordan down to the 1. Down to the 1. Moments later, Favre, hurry up, tick, tick, tick. 11, 4th touchdown, 49-24. Plus 11, the differential. And then, I mean, how many points can you score? 45 is not enough for George Seifert. It is enough for Brett Favre. One of the wackiest scenarios we've seen, but one of the wildest hours of football. The Pack, if Dallas loses later, they become the 8-18 that goes to the playoffs. Look at the numbers for Plummer, for Favre. Unbelievable. As for the Panthers' numbers, their numbers unbelievable. What a season for Steve Burline. 322 yards for him. Both teams scoring 45 points. But it's the Packers who... Well, first of all, it's the first time they are not over 500 since 1991.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed listening to you do that.
I forgot about
Good recreation of what happened in that room.
We got to just tell you something. All of us, not only Tommy and I, the whole staff at NFL Primetime and all the staff at NFL Countdown, we were up and screaming at the set. I know this is not the way to design it, to rub it in, but it was not a rub it in. The way it worked out, it was an amazing hour, Tommy.
Well, there were literally 3 games going on. We couldn't take our eyes off of them. And watching these coaches' reaction as the points were being scored, I think the penultimate moment for me was Brett Favre literally trying to run out the clock and then getting word probably from the sideline in his helmet that we may need another score there on the 30-yard line. And, you know, I mean, just moment to moment, I think that's what I meant at the beginning of the show. I think this is the way the NFL intended the last weekend of the season to be this exciting.
It was exciting, and the Packers remembered that they got a guy who runs the ball.
Yeah, Dorsey Levens, the 24 carries, 146 yards, 4 touchdowns, compared to that 4 yards on 10 carries that he got last week. I think the formula for success is pretty clear.
So now the Packers went into the locker room and tuned in to see if the Giants could beat Dallas. If they could, Green Bay goes to the playoffs. If they don't, it's the Cowboys that go to the playoffs. They have some guys that have smelled the